That's funny. So yeah, no, I mean, okay. What do you mean by entertaining? Because all of his videos make me want to scratch my head really hard. My head a big old scritchy scritch endlessly. What videos is in a more entertaining, quote unquote? Yeah, of course it was boring as shit. Because we basically came to an agreement, and we can point him out as a massive hypocrite. And 90% of his entertaining videos are super fucking cringy because he's an idiot. Like the one with Yusuf. That one's the best one because he gets fucking Omega wrecked. Yeah. Well, the chain. Oh, shut the fuck up. Um. Okay. Yeah, but no, but 99% of all those change my minds are really, really cringy and really dumb. So they might be quote unquote entertaining, but that's like a major problem with them. So I mean, as long as you don't take anything he says in those change my mind seriously, I don't have a problem with you. The issue is that a lot of people do take those things, what he says, seriously, and Steven Crowder himself expands the people he talks to at those change my minds as the entirety of the left. So when he says on other videos like, "Oh, the left is against my just wants complete and total open borders," he's referencing people he's talked to in change my minds, which are always, if not 99% of the time, college kids who know fuck all, and he showed up on their campus 5 minutes ago with a single tweet notifying that he was there. So most of the people he talks to are completely unprepared for a conversation with Steven Crowder or have no idea who he is. Sure, they might be entertaining, and I might have a good old giggle at them too. But sadly, the sad reality is people actually take his words seriously in that, and he himself takes those things very seriously and uses them as a reflection of the entire left. That's like the major issue with, well, maybe not the major issue with Steven Crowder, but a big issue. Do you want to play some Hearthstone right now or not? Well, let me just I'll log in to see what's up. Hopefully, it doesn't like completely crash my entire existence. Yeah, sometimes he says some shit, but I don't know. Wait, what? Sometimes he says some shit, but I don't know actually. Well, from what I remember, he also got me with some of his points. What do you mean by like got you with some like put you on his side with some of his points? Like, maybe there's some points that I can agree with him, but confused. Oh, my Hearthstone thing is fucked. Hold on. Like, oh, there's one. Oh, fuck. What is it again? Oh, yeah. Well, I guess this is the Yusuf one again. Have you seen the one with Yusuf? So he talks with a kid named Yusuf, and Yusuf, like, absolutely manhandles him. But at one point during the debate he had with him, he mentions that that Denmark doesn't have a universal basic income, or not a universal basic income, a universal minimum wage, which is true. Denmark or the Scandinavian countries don't have a universal, or fuck, Jesus Christ, don't have a set minimum wage. But the reason they don't have that is because they have such massive unions that they set the wages themselves, actually putting their effective minimum wage at like something higher than 15. I think it's like either 15 or like $17 an hour. So yeah, you're right. The government doesn't regulate a minimum wage, but their unions in Scandinavian countries are so massive that they themselves set the minimum wage. And Stephen himself is so against unions that something like that could never happen in the United States. So the only way right now to get an actual livable wage implemented legally is through a minimum wage system, or a longer process of allowing unions to actually become powerful in the United States, which would never happen. There's too many people against that. Or it won't happen like tomorrow. What was I trying to do again? Fuck, I have no idea. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, fuck. Okay, hold on. This, let's go with this full screen again. I don't know what that big square is, but okay, hopefully that doesn't block off too much from the screen. Oops. Yeah, like sometimes you might bring up good points, but a lot of the times they might have underlying I don't want to say like hypocrisies, but underlying like faults to his points. So the minimum wage one, or his entire socialism is evil. Changed my mind. There's a couple with the border one. I don't remember his specific points with the why we need a border wall one, but the entire premise of the border wall is super flawed. But he has to like defend that somehow. It's like, what would be more effective than the border wall is comprehensive immigration reform. But because Bernie Sanders is the only one pushing for that, I don't think Steven Crowder could agree with it. So he just wants the border wall and believes the border wall is more effective, even though it's totally not. It's a massive waste of money. Because basically you can look at it from a physics standpoint, right? Things want to go through, things want to take the path of least resistance. And currently, going through the actual legal process of getting into the United States is harder than jumping the border. So that's why most people do it. Or like overstay their visas and whatnot. Because actually immigrating into the United States takes a couple years. And you have to go back to your original home country every 6 months, I believe. Your visa lasts for 6 months, then you got to go back, get it renewed, and then come back. Sometimes you can get it renewed while in the country, but that's unlikely. So most of the time, you have to go back to your original country. So for people people who live in Mexico, that's very undesirable. Since if you go back to Mexico, you have a chance of dying. Fuck, what am I doing? Win 5 games in any mode. Play 30 paladin class cards. Destroy 25 minions. I have a paladin deck. I do. A good deck. I don't know. Well, do you remember the points that he gave for the two genders one? Because it's literally undeniable that gender is a construct. undeniable. If gender wasn't a construct, then we wouldn't need the term gender. It would just be sex. If gender's not a if gender's not a contract, why do we need two definitions for the same word? Or two words for the same definition? I'll keep that. Keep the whole thing. So I'm wondering what the exact points are that he brought up that you liked. Just so you know, by the way, you can join the Discord if you want to. FYI, you can have a real conversation with yours truly. It's not. Also, it's not mandatory. Just FYI. Why do you call? Wait, does he have both of them in his hand? No, she's a flame imp. Brugate. So I think the best way to deal with this right now is to not attack it. And just wait. Okay. So I'll give my points on it basically, and then maybe this was in contrast with his points. Basically, gender is undeniably a construct because, like I said, you shouldn't need two words to describe the same thing. So if gender is not a construct, then you don't need like that word. You don't need the word gender if it's not a construct. And then the other issue is, so gender is a construct, that's true. So what do we need to do about it? And yes, I believe that the terms like Z and Zer or whatever are kind of not needed per se, because they're not. Why would you? Okay, they're not very effective. Well, okay, in your language they might be synonyms, but in the United States they're not. They mean two different things, and the majority of this debate is because of that. So in the United States, gender is your role in society, basically, yeah, basically your role in society is your gender. So male, female, blah blah blah. I think is basically the gist of it, and then your sex is your biological sex, which would be male, female. So oh yeah, gender is like a representation of your role in society. Why did it hit him twice? Oh my god. Well, I gotta think. I gotta use my brain for a second here. I think I have to kill that because he's just gonna trade into this thing. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like if gender and sex are synonyms in your language, great. And maybe you don't have a huge like gender problem, whatever. But in the United States and in Canada, gender is heavily associated with your role in society. Okay. So? What's, like, wrong about that? Oh, fuck off. Like, it's still undeniable. I'm gonna lose this game. Like, again, in the United States, it's heavily suggestive that like, your gender defines who you are, which is extremely moronic, right? A female can take care of the household, quote unquote, take care of the household, just as well as a man can. There's no reason she can't, right? A chick is just as capable as a guy for going to work, making money, and a guy is just as capable as a female for taking care of the kids. So it's not inherent that a woman has to stay home and take care of the children. It's the role assigned to us as human beings that has made it so. What the fuck is going on? No. Except for they weren't. No. They weren't used exchangeably. Before the like, the reason why... So, let's say gender as a term was, became a thing in the 70s. Before that, they still used male and female as, like, your role. Obviously. It's not like the 70s. Before the 70s, they just used them as, like, exchangeably. Fuck, how do I even deal with this? I just deal damage to him. But yeah, like, the entire history of the United States is that females do certain things and males do certain things. The distinction from... Okay, but anything about a role is removing itself from, like, that distinction. Oh, I can't attack face, because it's on rush right now. That's weird. Anyways. Right, so, like, before the 70s... well, even today, right? Females had to stay home and take care of the kids. Females couldn't get a job or shouldn't get a job. It's like not sexy to not get a job. Like you have to take care of the kids and stay home. There's a bunch of roles assigned to you, assigned to you to your gender throughout United States history. So if the definition for gender came after the 70s, it's still true that gender defined who you were essentially, which shouldn't happen. Yeah, gender roles, which are kind of ass backwards. Yeah. And so, and like Steven Crowder's unironic position is that females should stay home and whatnot. Or like they're happier at home, even though there's no biological evidence of that. Some women may be happier at home, and some men may be happier in the workplace or at home. But oh shit, what is this? 1-1 scarabs. Okay, so in other words, don't do that yet. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh. Yeah, I should have put down the mechanical leg to get the dragon out. Whatever. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure in like that video, because I don't remember the last time I saw it either. Oh. Like, yeah, it's unironically Steven's position that men, like, should be at home and stuff like that. Like, yeah, there are... In a perfect society, there would only be two genders, right? Like, if... but no... Because then both terms would just be gender neutral. You'd be using two different terms to describe the same thing. Imagine bitching about having to stay at home instead of going to work. Dog, kids are really fucking annoying. I don't know if you know... Being at home could be extremely boring, dude. It's very gratifying to go to work and do some stuff. What are you talking about? What the fuck? Yeah, sure, some people would rather stay home and do nothing, but even Steven Crowder would would agree with this position that they're not benefiting society if you're staying home and doing fuck all. And yeah, it's very gratifying to go to work and like do something if your job is nice. Obviously, if you have a shitty fucking job, you'd much rather stay at home than to go to your shitty fucking job. But if you have a good, nice job that it's well paying, I would much rather be there than at home. Maybe you have to go back home later anyways. Oh, okay. So? What? Okay. So that would like be a balance, right? One person has to stay at home all the time. Yeah, but when you have a job, if you're the working man in the household, you only have to take care of the kiddies for like a fraction of the time that your wife has to. And depending on your job, you might not even have to take care of them at all, because if your job is like a long hour workday, whatever the fuck, you don't have to take care of them at all. And it's like, what is a woman supposed to do if she doesn't want kids? If a woman is supposed to stay at home and take care of children, what happens if she doesn't want to take care of children? What does she do then? She just sits at home and does fuck all? No, maybe she wants to go and have a job. Oof. I might do that. Oh, but I don't have enough mechs in my hand to... Ugh. don't know if that's like a powerful enough start to really get the ball rolling. And like, yeah, but you see, like, the inherent problem with assigning these generals to people is that you inherently, like, as the woman, you inherently have to take care of the children. Like, oh well, fuck, that's fucked up. What happens if you don't want kids? Are you not a woman at that point? Okay, yeah, but I would disagree with how Japan runs. Japan has an extremely high suicidal rate and are extremely xenophobic. I would disagree with Japan. Like, okay, and also, if Japan does that, is that beneficial? Is that good for their population? I don't know. What seems to be beneficial is that you let people do whatever the fuck they want. What happens if that woman in Japan wants to stay at work? Well, now she can't because she's demonized for leaving her child at home or whatever the fuck. It's like, yeah, okay, so Japan has a system. I disagree with that system. Are you sure? But yeah, but if there's a societal obligation to do it, right? So right now they might want to, but that's like the problem in the United States, is that some women might want to and they're allowed to. If there's like a huge societal stigma against you, like let's say let's say you're a woman in Japan and you don't want to stay home and take care of the children, I bet you society around you will be like grossed out by that or treat you differently, which is a problem. And that's the same problem in the United States, is that if you're to some old fucking losers, if you're a woman in the United States and you aren't at home taking care of the kids, you're like demonized for that, right? Some old white dude would probably think that. I mean, I would need statistics on them wanting to stay home, but regardless, let's say they do want to. Bet you there's a huge social stigma against them not doing so. Like, if you don't stay home and take care of the kids, society will hate you for that. And that's, like, a large problem. Right? Like, men have a higher rate of suicide because there's a stigma against you showing emotion.
Truth is my shield.
Fuck. Oh, please, please trade. Please. Oh. Annoying. Magnetic and taunt. So I have to do that. I have to do that. This will magnetic to this, which will allow me to trade it into that. And well, not instantly. Well, not can't trade it. I'll just go phase. Hopefully I draw another mech so I can play it. If he doesn't play another taunt, or I will be very pained. Okay. Fucking huge hand. Oh no! Oh shit! Wait, does that victory? No, obviously not. Oh no, I'm an idiot.
Reporting for duty.
Could I have played both cards? That would have cost 5. I was at 7. So if I used them both, no. Really? Oh, that card exists now? Oh, that's really cool. Yay. I love cards like that. Shuffle your hand back into your deck, draw that many cards. That's awesome. I love that card. Trade. You have to trade. You have to trade, idiot. You have to trade, idiot. You have to trade. You have to trade. Idiot, idiot, idiot.
To battle.
Sure. I mean, I'm for equal rights, so if that makes me a feminist, then by all means. Makes me an SJW cuck boy, okay. Just not denying, like, the factual side of the world. Yes, he loses. Oh, fuck. What a fucking pain in my ass. He either has to trade into this and instant loses. Or he somehow has a 1-mana card that clears the board. Oh, he's actually trading. Idiot. The meme! Good meme, buddy. Except for the sure, there are radical feminists, which I would disagree with. Obviously. But thanks for participating in the meme, my dude. The definition for a feminist is someone who advocates for equal rights. So I would be in that party. Of course, there are radical feminists who take things way too fucking far, and I would disagree with them. This is why I hate labels, and I don't typically call myself any specific thing, because yeah, if I consider myself a specific thing, obviously I'll get pulled in with the rest of them, like you've just done right now, right? You've pulled all feminists into people who are against equal rights. And like, yeah. Is third wave feminism? No, third wave feminism, by like definition, wouldn't be radical. Like a thing can't be like feminism can't be radical. People within the movement can be. Get it? Hopefully you understand that. So people within the third wave feminist movement could be radical, but the third wave feminist movement itself cannot be radical. The same way any religious text cannot be radical. The Quran is not inherently radical. The Bible is not inherently radical. People who use that text can be radical and push their views, like, and use that text to influence their radical views. But third wave feminism does bring equal rights. Bill C-16 was part of third wave feminism. You got abortion rights coming through from third wave feminists. What else is a thing? You've got the conversation about a wage gap, which is now an earnings gap, and nobody denies that anymore, or nobody's serious, right? AOC has used the term earnings gap properly. Bernie Sanders, I'm pretty sure, has also used the term earnings gap properly. So sure, the anti-SJW losers may have brought to light the earnings gap instead of the wage gap. But now it's a real conversation about the earnings gap and what solutions should we put forth. For example, in the sports industry, are women being paid less than men? Yes, but is it justified? So, is there some sort of problem within the system that's allowing for women to be paid less than men? So, does the top athlete in the WNBA deserve to be paid as much as LeBron James because they're both the top athletes in their league? Of course not. But LeBron James is probably being paid a higher percentage of the total net worth or value of the company that's paying him, if that makes sense. For example, let's say in women's basketball, the women's wages, the contracts that are paid is only 30% of the total value of the team, whatever. I'm trying to describe this in simpler terms. LeBron James might be getting like 50% of the value or 75%. He's getting paid way more by percentage than the female athletes are, where they should be paid like the same. That makes sense? Because the athletes for sports teams, the athletes in the sports teams are the drivers of the league. So third wave feminism has brought up a conversation about that. Are there radicals that go way too far? Of course. I think that the Zer Zim stuff is too far gone. And I would most closely advocate for quote unquote gender neutral terms, because that's if there are no gender roles, then we have to have a gender neutral term for everybody. Because even if let's say there is no inherent roles assigned to male and female, then we don't need male and female, because that's two words to describe the same thing. And then male and female would only be used in the context of medical stuff. But yeah, like, I don't know what you mean by third wave feminism doesn't bring equal rights. That's it's a tough one to digest, I guess. Third wave feminism could be I would consider that the Black Lives Matter movement, but they have brought light this whole, because I'm pretty sure you would consider Black Lives Matter and like feminists and stuff like that all in the same group anyways. But they have brought light to police brutality in the United States. Sometimes things overreach, like there are Black Lives Matter protests in Canada, which I don't think are justified that well, or they don't give specific meaning as to why those protests are happening, so I disagree with those protests. But some protests in other states I agree with. And it's impossible to say that all of Black Lives Matter or all of the third wave feminists, actually, yeah, this is undeniable. You can't consider the entire third wave feminist movement radical, because there's not even a centralized like leadership. Nobody's leading the Black Lives Matter. Nobody's leading. It's all decentralized. That's the point of the whole thing, is that it's all decentralized. It has a general definition of what it's for. So Black Lives Matter is like a movement against police brutality perpetrated upon African Americans and minorities. But there's no leader to said group dictating how said group should act. And because of that, you will have radicals and you will have normal people within the movement, obviously. Is that Ezekiel Elliott's? Or is that... I don't know. Should have taken a photo of Ezekiel Elliott's fucking locker. Loser. My dad got a tour of the fucking Cowboys Stadium, which is cool for his work. Alright. Hey, Coop, I need some facts. Come on. Give me your facts over feels. How many like cards do I have in fucking totality? I feel like I have a fuck ton of goddamn cards. So 5,000 dust. How many Hall of Fame cards do I have? Oh, Naturalized put in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, makes sense. Which will actually allow them to bring back, certain decks, whatever. Really, that was put... Wow, what the fuck? That did, like, nothing. If your deck has only even cost cards, deal 2 damage. Oh, because all the even cards got put in there. Right. Right. Wait, so where the fuck... Oh, is that the only even class card I had? Yeah. Yeah. Conceal. Give your mana stealth. Oh, wow. Alright, Coop, where the fuck you at, boy? You still here with me, or are you typing out a big old paragraph? Is affirmative action likened to feminism? I would assume so, right? Some affirmative action would... Well, I think... yeah, some affirmative action would be part of the feminist movement. And then I could agree or disagree with specific affirmative action plans. I think that's the whole point, right? Just because like one affirmative action plan is bad doesn't mean like the entirety of feminism is fucked. Or even if a majority of affirmative action plans are stupid, that doesn't mean the entirety of feminism is fucked. It means that whoever put in those specific laws are a little bit too far gone. So affirmative action plans like the Rooney Rule in the NFL, which mandates that all NFL teams interview at least one black head coach before hiring, I would agree with that law. Why? Because the NFL has a history of being extremely racist towards African Americans and other minorities. So by mandating that you have to only interview one African American coach, opens up the doors for more African American coaches to be hired, and because of this rule, directly because of this rule, there's been a massive increase in African American coaches within the league. And that's an affirmative action plan, which could have been put in by feminists or egalitarians. It doesn't really matter. Like, I come from a place where I don't give a fuck about any titles you put across yourself, as long as you are doing good things. How is that not equal? You're giving opportunity to African Americans to become head coaches of NFL teams, whereas in the past, that was not a thing. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need the Rooney Rule. Sadly, racists exist, and a large majority of them own NFL teams or take part in the hiring process on NFL teams, which culminated in a disproportionate low level of African American coaches within the league. Now, because of the Rooney Rule, the level of coaches has drastically gone up, because it turns out that African Americans are just as good at coaching as anybody else. And there's now going to be potentially new things. Now, either A, regulation like this doesn't need to happen if the companies themselves, like, why is there no Rooney Rule in any other league? Because other leagues are, you can call them more progressive than this stuff, right? So at the NBA, how is that racist towards rights? That's the most, that's like, okay, I'm going to finish my point and then I'm going to dig in that one. The NBA is looking towards making, looking to hire female NBA coaches. They're looking into that. They're seeing who's like actually fit for the job. Okay, that's like a thing that's happening. Anyways, with that's just racist towards whites. How is that racist towards whites? That makes no sense. If you were interviewing 8 people, so there's no cap on how many people you have to interview. The only way, there's actually absolutely no way that could be racist, because an NFL team could interview as many people as they want. They can interview 10,000 people as long as they interview one black person. That's all they're asking for. You just have to interview one black person. The rest can be all whites. How are you privileging one race over the other? The rule doesn't mandate you have to hire that black individual. It only mandates that you have to interview one African American. That's not privileging one over the other. It's just mandating that you have to. You have to interview one. Just interview him. Just talk to him. How is that privileging one over the other? Doesn't make any sense, dude. It's not a privilege to get an interview. Everyone should be interviewed. How is that discriminatory and racist? That makes no sense. Both parties, if you interview a black person and a white person for an NFL team, both of them have the same exact odds of getting, well, not the same exact odds, but both of them have the opportunity to become the coach equally. Before this rule was in place, NFL coaches or NFL owners had free reign to be as racist as they want and not interview a single black individual. So that's why the rule exists. This rule doesn't have to exist. And, yeah. Why is my chat broken? Oh, God. Yo, what up? Thanks, Nate. I appreciate you, buddy. I'm digging into Ida Coop right now. Thanks for the raid, buddy. I don't know why I didn't just notify this. Probably because my fucking OBS just crashed. But, thanks. Appreciate you, buddy. There we go. There it goes. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. You're interviewing someone just because he's African. Yeah, and in the past, he was discriminated against by the football organization. There was a disproportionately low level of, oh, that's why. There's like a bug. Oh, shit. Alright, thanks, buddy. That's, ha! Okay, that's why. Move this one. Yep. Alright. Thanks, Nate. I appreciate you. How is that not discriminatory against every... Because there's no discrimination taking place. Discrimination is putting one race over the others. I don't care if the NFL thinks that league's safer. I'm not going to stand for that flag. Yeah. But it's not discriminatory. Like, discrimination means that you are... Like, it would be discrimination. It would be discrimination if you had to hire... If a specific team had to hire an African-American coach. That would be discrimination. But if you are just opening the door to the job position by mandating that historically racist team owners need to interview a African-American individual, that's not discrimination. Right? If you... oh, God. If you build a building, if you have a, if you put a refugee building, no, it's not the same thing. It's not even close to the same thing. Oh my God, dude. If you, oh, Jesus. If a store owner, no, I don't even have to like describe. That's just clearly not discrimination. Opening the door to allow an African-American coach to be hired is not the same thing as being forced to hire an African-American coach. That makes no sense, dude. You're not... Oh my God. How do you not see that? The law is, the Rooney Rule is that you have to interview one African-American. Let's say you interview 10 people. One has to be African-American, the rest can be white. Or Hispanic. Or Asian. typically they'll be white because that's like historically what happens in the NFL, right? There's a disproportional amount of white people as coaches in the NFL. That's why the Rooney Rule was put in place. But thanks again, Suede Bro. I appreciate you. I'm not crafting anything. I was just looking at the Hall of Fame. Just see what's in there now. Like Ragnaros is in there. Blah blah. I was looking at the Baku and Greymane have been put in here too. Originally, when I had this open before I started talking to Itacoop. No, that's not okay. Well, then you have a twisted definition of what discrimination is. Because that means that if somebody, if a woke boy owned the, so let's say somebody owned the New York Giants and only hired African Americans, then like I bet you would be calling for discrimination against white people because he's only hiring, but no, he's just deciding to hire. He's just deciding, like, do you get it? This is where the problem is, right? I wouldn't consider an owner of if the New York Giants owner decided to only hire African Americans, I wouldn't consider that discrimination. And potentially, if that happens over a long period of time and every single NFL team only hires African Americans, then maybe you put in a Rooney Rule for white people. But right now, that's not the case. You have to put a Rooney Rule in for black people because historically, black people were discriminated against for NFL coaching positions. Yeah, Sylvanas, yeah. Death Row, take control of random enemy media. Yeah. Definitely discrimination. Right? But, like, so the NFL team, let's say there's a racist owner of an NFL team and he only wants to hire white coaches. He can still do that. He just has to interview one African American coach. He doesn't have to hire him. He can just interview. He just has to interview him. It's the same reason that, so it turns out that if you want to stop a population from being racist, you introduce the population they're being racist against into their population. So, for example, if we want to, the best way to eliminate the stigma from illegal immigration is to just put the sanctuaries, the immigration sanctuaries, inside real cities so that people actually have to live with these people and realize, oh, they're just people. That's the easiest way to take away the problem with Americans with illegal immigrants right now. So I would advocate, I 100% advocate for any kind of sanctuaries. Like I don't know what the perfect thing would be because I'm not sure what's like best for housing immigrants, but actually privilege him, which is discriminating and unequal. No, oh my god. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a zoo. This is where everyone gets confused. Like, what? Do you want them to just sit in cages in the middle of the town? No, fuck. I want them to just live, like, at a hotel for whatever experience amount of time. Or they build, like, just houses, or they just give them houses to live in. Like, the government buys a couple properties and put immigrants in there to live with the rest of society. And then give them access to jobs and whatnot. Thanks for the follow, buddy. I appreciate you. But if you're interviewing a black guy exactly to privilege him, which is, how is it? I don't know why you think that being interviewed for a NFL coaching position is a privilege. Like it somehow privileges you. If that NFL coach is racist as fuck and decides not to hire you, then the Rooney Rule is totally, like, it's not a privilege. You just have a twisted definition of what privilege is. Just allowing someone access to something is, if that's considered privilege or discriminatory to you, then you're just lost to me, right? So this is like, okay, then I guess you're against the cake laws too, right? The reason why there needs to be laws in states like Texas or Missouri or whatever, making it illegal for you to not sell cakes to, like, why there's protected classes, is because the reason there's protected classes like gays, trans, and minority groups, because it's very easy to discriminate against those people. So in like states like Missouri and I guess Texas, maybe a couple different places, it's very easy for African Americans and minorities in those cities to get heavily discriminated against. So therefore, laws have to be put in place to not allow that to happen. That's why you have to bake a cake in the specific laws for gay people, because if you don't stop that, then there's a very easy chance that all stores in said state don't sell cakes to black people, which then stops all black people from buying cakes, which is discriminatory. Right? So it's actually discrimination that historically NFL team owners wouldn't hire black people. That's direct discrimination against black people. God, the soy, dude. The soy is just coming out of my eyeballs right now. What if all sports ball players legally had to black for the next? Wait, what? Had to black? I always be black. What if all sports ball players? What the hell? What the hell is going on? What? Can you rephrase that, please, Captain Wizardson? I need you to recalculate that. That's not the bake thing. What I was talking about is the reason why there's protected classes, such as the protected classes of minority groups, gays, and I don't know if gays is the proper term. Homosexual and bisexual people. Why is there a protected class with them? Oh, and transgender people. Is that the right term either? Too? I completely excuse that if that's not the proper term right now, because I know one is like super fucking rude and the other one's not. I'm pretty sure transgendered people or transgenders is bad. Or is that the good? I don't know. Anyways, the reason that we have protected classes is because it's very easy for certain states to discriminate against specific groups of people. So, for example, in states like, I believe, Texas, Missouri, and in a couple other southern states, a majority of store owners are heavily religious. So, if they were given the opportunity to not sell a cake to a gay person, they would not do so, which would then be discriminatory against all gay people within said state. Battle for Bikini Bottom Cake, and they tell me no gamer cakes. It's travesty and frankly a serious fucking crime. Well, it would be if a majority of wait, well, I mean, never mind. Fuck this. It's a stupid meme. Fuck off. Yeah, we have protected classes for a reason. It's because these people have traditionally been heavily discriminated against, and we need to find a way to stop it. In a perfect world, no, because you have a thing called separation of church and state, and you have religious freedoms, right? So, yeah, no, you have religious freedoms. So you can practice your religion in private. Once you push that onto the public, like discriminate against gay people, then it's a problem. So sure, you don't have to bake a cake at home in your private residence. But if you are in a business, you are no longer a private individual, you are a owner of a business, and you have to abide by the laws of your state or federal government. It's not discrimination to go against somebody's religion, unless, of course, you are actively trying to annihilate said person's religion. Which is what 90% of conservatives are doing towards Muslims. So take very, very, very teeny steps in this point you're making. Conscientious objector. What? Sorry, why did you bring this up? Here, let me just close this fucking game. Conscientious objector. Okay. Well, not even that. It's not even that. Not that they're refusing to. It's not even that the cake has gay or black imagery on it. It's just that the cake is being baked for somebody who is gay. That's like what they're against, which is mind-boggling, right? You can't even make like a cake could just be the cake. It could just be like it have a white frosting on it. It's just a normal cake. But if you're gay, some religious people will refuse to bake it for you. I.e., fucking Ben Shapiro wouldn't bake a cake for Dave Rubin. Yeah, no, it's not like they're refusing to bake a cake with two men on the top, whatever. They're refusing to just bake a cake for gay people. Okay. And they should just ask for a cake that. No, but the problem is that if the person discovers that they're gay or whatever, they'll sue them and have like a bunch of other things. 90%. Okay, the joke is that the thing is that 90% of the time when you walk in there, you'll ask for like, hey, it's a wedding. I need two men on the top. I love that. So, fuck. So basically, your point is if somebody was racist and wouldn't bake a cake for black people, they should just go in the store in whiteface. Guys, the only way to order cakes in this state is if you hide your gayness. Don't tell anybody that you're gay. You can't buy cakes that way. Majority of the time, someone will buy a cake because of a wedding. So yes, there will be a dude on top. But the person won't even suggest that like, oh, I'll bake you a cake. I just won't. It's not like the people at the stores are like, oh yeah, don't worry, I'll bake you the cake, but I won't. I won't put the just act heterosexual. Oh my fucking god. Act heterosexual, as if that actually holds like me. What is acting heterosexual? Act natural. Fuck up, dude. Captain Blizzard, please be a troll. But act. Oh my god, what was the point I'm on? You just like blew my brain up. Yeah, what is heterosexual? What is acting heterosexual to you? What is inherently heterosexual? Fuck whatever point I was making before. What is inherently heterosexual to you? This is the next. I don't know what the fuck my previous point was. Oh yeah, hiding your identity. That's safe. Yeah. So then, oh, actually, I'll bring this up. If you're okay with people hiding their identity to get stuff, then you're totally okay. You're totally okay with stores not selling food to white people. You're totally okay with that, right? I mean, you have to be, just so you know. But if you're gonna uphold the rest of your points, you have to be pro just total ban of white people. He did it. He fucking did it. He said exactly what I thought he would say. So you're telling me right now that not a single heterosexual person could act in any way quirky and quote unquote like, oh my god, I need you to define what is like acting gay then. So quirky. Like the word so quirky. You're like, fuck, like you're especially, like you're that, meh. I'm gonna chat to highlight your words directly. Oh, I can't, fuck, whatever. So, like, what do you mean by it's easy? It's easier to say what's heterosexual. Oh, homosexual. Sorry, my bad. What's homosexual? Because they all act, quote, they all act so quirky, and that's how you notice it. So every single gay person acts quirky. So Dave Rubin acts quirky all the time. You can just look at him and tell he's gay right away. You know Dave Rubin's gay instantly by looking at him. He just has that quirk about him. He's just so quirky. That Dave Rubin guy. Probably not 100%. So some of them won't act quirky. Okay. Okay. So then there's no like specific definition of heterosexual and homosexual. It's almost like anybody can do anything. Wow. But there's a reason they call themselves queers. Well, not all of them call themselves queers. Some of them just call themselves gay. They like the same sex. And they move on. But not all of them call themselves queers. And I also need you to define what you mean by like queers. Like what do you mean the reason they call themselves queers? Look up queer. I don't really. Okay. I'm pretty sure the definition for queer, by the way, is different. Just an FYI. Queer, strange, odd. So anybody who's strange or odd is gay? Then I guess I'm gay. Because I play video games. Typically, that's a pretty strange thing to do. I play Hearts of Iron 4, which is a different game. It's a little odd. Not many people like that game. Does that make me odd? For sure. I have a specific... I specifically like certain games. I only like certain games, right? I have a different taste towards video games than other people. So then I would be considered queer, because the definition of queer is strange and odd. I have a strange section of video games I like. So then am I gay now? Am I allowed to be given a cake? You know damn well they're correlated to the LGBT. Yeah, all that means, buddy, is that all people can be in the LGBTQ community because they put queer in there, and then they're well aware that the definition of queer is strange and odd. So all it is that anybody can be included in the LGBT community. If you consider yourself odd or strange, you could be considered in the LGBTQ community. Oh my god, dude. It's mind-boggling. If queer just meant gay, then they don't need the J, or the G, fuck me, the G in LGBT. They wouldn't need the word gay if queer just meant gay. Or they wouldn't need, like, lesbian. Everything is just, You're taking it too literally. You're the one taking it too. Are you all right? I'm just looking at the definition. You told me to look up the definition yourself. You're saying that there's a reason they call themselves queers. You said that there's like a specific act that gays put on, right? Why are you asking me to take it too literally? They added the queer tag because most of them are queers. No. They added the queer tag because they wanted to be inclusive to more people. That's why they added the queer tag. Lesbian, gay, bi, trans, and queer community. They're adding more to it all the time. This is the more accepted term, LGBTQ. It used to just be LGBT. Now it's LGBTQ. And they are most people who use the term LGBTQ are fully aware that queer is just defined as strange and odd. Why would you need to add another word for queer to also define lesbian, gay, bi, or trans? Most of them are queers. Most people are queers. A lot of people are strange. Fuck. Some people are heterosexual. Their sexuality is heterosexual, but they would consider themselves queers. That's why there's a different tag. Oh no. But there is a term. Because anybody can call themselves whatever the fuck they want. Because the definition for queer is just strange and odd. So people can call themselves heterosexual queers. Because heterosexual is just you being attracted to somebody of the opposite sex. Look, the definition of heterosexual, of a person sexually attracted to people of the opposite sex. Yeah, because you're trying to subvert them and like put on a fucking tag onto gay people, which they don't deserve. You're telling people to not act gay for them to be able to buy a cake. But what is acting gay? What is that? It's nothing, is what it is. I'm going for definitions of what they mean. Why do people like... Oh, my God. It's like, what is heterosexual, right? So if I love labels, I'm going by the definition of what heterosexual is. What do you think heterosexual means? What do you think queer means? What do you think gay means? What do you think lesbian means? What are you assigning to these people? I'm just going by what the definitions are, and the definitions are heterosexuals are just people who are attracted to the opposite sex. If you're acting like a queer, you're not acting heterosexual. Okay, but what is acting queer? And why is it separated from heterosexual? Why can't those two things coexist? Because the definition of queer is strange or odd, and the definition for heterosexual is a person being attracted to somebody of the opposite sex. To me, those two things can coexist perfectly. You can be weird or strange/odd, and also be attracted to somebody of the same sex or opposite sex. Because they're linked. What do you mean they're linked? Can you elaborate? If they're linked, like, you need to elaborate on that one. I think you've confused yourself. I don't know if the chat's like that visible, because I remember that it's like kind of busted. Let's full screen it so everyone can see it. Oh yeah, because I have to go down to 1720p. Fuck, right. So hopefully this is more visible. I don't know how visible it is though. I don't think it's at all visible. Fuck. Whatever, it's visible to me. Yeah, whatever. You need a definition of queer on a real dictionary instead of Google. Holy fuck. Why? So why can't I take the definition from Google? Why do I have to go to a real... Oh my God. A real dictionary. Does the dictionary have to have a timestamp on it? Why? Yeah, why can't I take it from Google? Why is Google's definition on it, which I'm pretty sure is sourced from multiple different texts and is like constantly updated over and over again? Same thing with dictionaries. Pretty sure if I got a 2019 dictionary definition, so queer dictionary definition. Well, gave me the same post. Okay, let's go into the Oxford Dictionary. Fuck, dude. Sorry to break it to you. They also define it as strange or odd. Whoops. Oxford Dictionary, a real dictionary, also defines queer as strange or as strange semicolon odd. She had a queer feeling that they were being watched. He was feeling rather queer. Informal, offensive, a person of homosexuality. So that's the second definition, which some people can go by, but that's why we have the term homosexual. So this is informal. This is the informal, offensive definition of queer. Just so you know. Here's the real fucking shit. As a noun, it may be a homosexual man, but that's also informal and offensive. A verb, also informal. Read usage. The word queer was first used to mean homosexual in the late 19th century. When used by heterosexual people, it was originally an aggressively derogatory term. By late 1980s, however, some gay people began to deliberately use the word queer in place of gay or homosexual in an attempt by using the word positively to deprive it of its negative power. Queer also came to have broader connotations, relating not only to homosexuality but to any sexual orientation or gender identity not corresponding to heterosexual norms. The neutral use of queer is now well established and widely used, especially as an adjective or noun or modifier, and exists alongside the derogatory usage. That goes directly against your point. This is literally describing that the term queer is becoming broader and broader to get away from the derogatory usage it was historically used in. Just an FYI. That's why the current definition of it is strange and odd. So that's pretty much encompassing of all people. Fuck. What about, I should use Oxford Dictionary for transgender population? Transgender people. Transgender population. Is becoming equals is. Well, yeah, because to some people, like you, queer still means gay. In a derogatory fashion because you're trying to assign a specific role to gay people and heterosexual people. And gay people are trying to normalize it themselves. Yeah, because words inherently don't have meaning to them. In today's society, and widely accepted by a lot of people, including myself, queer could mean anything. And also, the Oxford Dictionary agrees with me, since the current definition is strange, odd. Do you understand that? Do you get it? That's why they have LGBTQ instead of just Q. Because it's lesbians, so females attracted to females, gays, men attracted to men, bisexuals, men attracted to both female and male, and trans, people who have transitioned from the female gender to the male gender, and then queers, strange and odd people. Whatever you say, queer. Sure, go for it. Call me a queer. I don't give a fuck, dude. Holy shit. But I'm glad you're still using it in a derogatory sense. Really positive of you, buddy. Really good. Glad you're using it in a fucking... fuck me, dude. Alright, so can you give me a definition of what you mean by gay people and by... like, what is a specific trait that only gays have? Will you go pray to the next LGBT period? No, because I don't really like labels. I would prefer we don't have any of this, to be honest. But you're the one over here fucking talking about labels and assigning specific meaning to each person, which you have yet to define. I just like to define people as people. I don't care what the fuck you do. Like, you don't need to be heterosexual. Like, you don't need to tell me you're heterosexual, gay. Like, it doesn't matter. You're just a person. You do whatever you want, as long as it's not inflicting on me. LGBTQIA community plus, you know, definition of gay. Yeah, no, but like, yeah, what is specific? Like, I know what the like, obviously a guy who likes another guy, but what is a specific trait that a gay person holds that somebody could see and then not like, right? You get it? Like you said the words hide. You said the words hide your gayness and act natural, or I guess Captain Wizardson said just act natural, and you bumped it. So the basic definition of gay would be a male attracted to another male. Homosexuality, use especially of men. A person homosexual, use especially the city's gay, lighthearted and carefree, dated. A homosexual. Okay, well then it's fine. Because many of them are okay. I need you to define what you mean. Okay, so what aspects? Because okay, anybody. We already established that anybody can be queer because you just call me queer, and I'm definitely extremely heterosexual. So I need you to tell me what aspects, like why, how would a store owner who doesn't want to sell cakes to a gay person, how would they identify that person as being quote unquote gay? Why does a gay person walking into a store have to act natural? What is acting natural to you? And if you just say, oh, not kissing guys is pretty unnatural to me, I will do things. Talking with a girly voice would be gay. So any guy, doesn't matter how heterosexual he is, that has a higher pitched voice, quote unquote girly. Now, I need to ask you again, what is a girly voice? But any guy who has a higher pitched voice or a quote unquote girly voice is now gay. Even if he absolutely despises being with a guy. He could be the most fucking homophobic dude on the planet, but he has a high pitched voice, so you would consider him gay. Most of them, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna need statistics on most gay people speaking girly, quote unquote girly. And why does even if most of them, that wouldn't be a defining trait of like a gay person. We just assign. Oh my god. Because if you assign a girly voice to all gay people, then that means that any guy who has a girly voice would then therefore be gay. But that's obviously not true, because some men can have a girly voice. Quote unquote, girly voice. Now that's undeniable. If you're saying that a gay person has a girly voice, or like talking with a girly voice would be gay, that means that any guy who at any point has just has a girly voice by like naturally would be gay. Yeah, no, but I don't think you know what you're assigning a definition to what gay is, because most have a specific thing, even though it's not biologically inherent to gay people, right? Because some straight people, even a majority of straight people, could have a girlier voice. A girlier voice is just a trait of human beings, not of specifically gay people, and specifically like fucking, oh my god. There could be like health problems. There could be like your voice. So you're telling me that a voice box directly corresponds with your sexuality. Different aspects, like your voice box being smaller or longer, which defines your tone of voice. Just because of that, you will be gay or heterosexual. Do you have any idea how much nonsense you're spewing right now? Like, that makes no fucking sense. It's one of the gay traits, but it's not a gay trait because Not all gay people have that trait. If it was a gay trait, every single individual gay person would have that trait, but they don't. So it's not a gay trait. A gay trait is liking somebody of the same sex. A male liking another male would be a gay trait because all gays have that trait. That's why it's called gay. Fuck. Jesus. Congratulations on triggering the fuck out of me, dude. Holy fuck. It's not, oh my god. When you say the word trait, that means it's essential to if you like sports, you are a man. That's what you're telling me right now. Or all men like sports. It's a male trait, but it's clearly not a trait. Let's go for the definition of trait. So you have just a twisted definition of trait. A distinguishing quality or characteristic, typically one belonging to a person. A distinguishing quality or characteristic. A distinguishing, which means that it distinguishes one person from another. That's why there's the term gay, because there's a distinguishing quality between someone who's gay and no, stop with the typically. Typically is if you're going to use the term typically, then you can't use the term trait because they're totally the fucking opposite. A trait is something that's inherent to this person. That's why we have the term gay, because there's a distinguishing trait between people who are gay and between people who are heterosexual. And that trait is liking somebody of the same sex. Trait. Okay, well then you need to read up on the English language because you're completely using the word trait in the wrong form. Regardless, your views are pretty toxic regardless, because you're trying to assign gay people to specific things which are not inherent to them. Right? Like you just said there, you said you don't like football, but it's a man's trait to like sports. What you're saying right there, that sentence right there, you are actually defining yourself as not a man, just so you know, because you use the word trait. An FYI, just so you know. You wouldn't be considered a man by your own words right now, just so you know. Well, what term would I use to define? Well, I would just say that gay people, I would use the definitions, right? So, a gay person is a homosexual, and a homosexual is a person sexually attracted to people of one's own sex. That's the term I would use. A homosexual is a person, not that a homosexual is a person who talks girly. I would say that a homosexual is a person who's attracted to someone of the same sex. That's the term I would use for gay people. Would you say a man's quality is typically to enjoy sports? Perhaps. Typically, men enjoy sports. That doesn't mean that females can't enjoy sports. And that doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that females can enjoy sports. It just means that typically men enjoy sports more than women. And typically women like, but now you have to look at why does that happen? Why do men typically like sports more than females? Could be a variety of reasons. Some of them inherently not bad, right? Now, you could say that typically African Americans commit more crime than whites. What would be improper for you to do is to then consider that all black people aren't inherently more violent than white people. That would be the stupidest thing you could ever do in your entire existence. The reason why African Americans, same reason why men enjoy sports more than women, is cultural. Okay, there's a cultural problem and a plethora of other legal reasons why African Americans currently are creating more violence or causing more violence than whites. There's a cultural problem in in the world. So if someone wrote you here and told you I like sports, he's probably going to be a man, correct? Statistically, he is likely to be a dude. Statistically likely to be a dude. I would not make that assumption. If somebody just came in here, had a gender-neutral name, and said, I like sports, I'd be cool. You like sports. I would not assign that person any other characteristics or traits. I would not instantly assume that that person's a guy or a girl. They just like sports. And they are allowed to be a guy or a girl. There's no inherent likeness that guys have towards sports. It's a cultural thing, and typically guys like sports more than girls. So if I was to make a statistical analysis, like a guess, if I had to make a guess on the matter of what he was, I would probably guess that he's a man. So that's usually a man's quality or trait or whatever. Well, it's not his trait. Not all men like sports, so it's not a trait. And I don't think it's a quality either. It's just that typically men like sports. Why do they like these sports? Well, because culturally, sports were advertised towards men instead of females. That's why typically men will like video games, because culturally, video games were advertised towards young boys and now older men. Typically, video games are advertised towards men, so therefore, typically men will play these video games. So sports are typically advertised towards men, so therefore more men will watch sports. It's not a trait, it's not a quality, it's just a reality of culture. You might define it as you might define it as a cultural trait. I think that's okay. Like culturally. Like culturally, we have in current culture more men. No, I don't know if that's the proper definition either. But yeah, your problem right now is that you're inherently assigning these things to a specific gender, which is the whole gender like debate right now. The whole like genders have to, because not all men like sports and not all women like Barbies or whatever. Anybody can like anything. You're right, men don't exist. It's not only cultural, the female brain is different from ours. That's what I've always heard for the reasons of why they don't like video games. I'm going to need a massive citation on women's brains being different, being the reason why they don't like video games. I need a big citation on that one. It's 100 million% culture. The reason why females... Yeah, a well-known fact. The anti-video game gene in women. It's not like it was advertised to men for like the entire existence of video games. And it's not like there's a disproportionate level of like violent video games that are specifically targeted towards men. Like even on that point, it's like, oh, you could say, oh, well, there's like violent video games are inherent to men. Men like violent video games. Well, why do men like violent video games? Because historically, men were brought up to be more violent, to be the hunters, to be, like. But it's not like a trait. Fuck. Yeah, clearly I don't understand biology, guys. I don't understand. Inherently, guys like video games more than females. It's inherent. You can actually like take out the gene, the video game gene. It's a big fucking N64 Mario Kart fucking. It's this. Ready? Hold on. Hold on. I gotta take out the gene. Hold on. I gotta take out the gene. Hold on. Just. There we go. There's the gene. There's the video game gene. Okay. You talked about their brain. Coop, buddy, you talked about their brain. Yes, there's a biological difference between men and females. Typically, men are stronger than females. Typically. Again, like... But we have the same... Well, actually, our bone structure is slightly different, too. So there are some biological differences between men and female. But again, it's on a typical basis, because it's all kind of relative, right? Tomorrow, a female could be born with the same bone density as a male. And actually, there's a female runner in Africa who has a higher testosterone level than any woman in society. and is actually above most men, or is on par with most men. But again, if like you're talking about their brain in video games, your physicality has nothing to do with video games. Now, you might be able to get to the grit. Once on perfect, if the world was perfect, you might be able to see some differences between performance, right? So maybe there's a biological difference between the reaction time of male and female. What am I even trying to say? You said it's not only cultural. The female brain is different from ours. That's what I've always heard and reason. So I said, that's what I've always heard for the reason of why they don't like video games. So I was explaining that there's no gene in the female brain saying, oh, I don't like video games. And then you brought up women are physically more fragile, which has nothing to do with video games. And again, also lies on a case-by-case basis, basically. And yes, women are typically more fragile or weaker than men on a typical, but that doesn't mean that no female can ever be stronger than male, because there are some females who are stronger than men. Yeah, well, whatever you heard is dead wrong. Sorry to break it to you. I've analyzed the dimples in the femoid skull and determined that the indentation near the medulla oblongata suppresses the Overwatch impulse. Yeah, I also looked into that. I physically ripped open a brain and saw those myself. But like, thank fuck you're not like a popular fucking YouTuber or something like that, because you have a very weak hold on the English language, which you've admitted to, which is fine. I get it, but you have to be careful what you're saying, because they're completely detached from like reality. Like, female brains being different means that they don't like video games. That's totally fucking wrong. Not even close to reality. I'm losing my voice right now. I need water. They usually suck anyways. Who usually sucks at what? I'm about to say that women usually suck at video games? Is that what's going on? But again, if women usually suck at video games, that's not an inherent trait to females. It just means that typically women are worse at video games than men. And now you have to ask, why is that the case? And for the most part, it's a cultural reason. Because men, for a large portion of their lives, me from like age like fucking 5, like the moment I could pick up a video game, I was playing video games. So culturally, I would be better at video games because I've had my entire life playing them, where a female might typically pick up video games at the age of 13 maybe. Which is, for a large part, when like, you know, it's not a trait. A trait is something that's distinguishable from male and female. And there's, like, men aren't inherently better at video games than females. Now, if you don't know what inherent means, it just means that, like, 100% all males are better at X thing than females. No male is inherently better at something than all females. A word, I can't give you a word. This is a typical basic, like, cultural thing. So typically, I guess the word would be typically. Typically, men are better than females. But that doesn't mean that all males are better at video games than all females. Sometimes a female could be better at video games than some males. And now you also have to look at why are some females, or a majority of females, or typically females, worse at video games than males. And the answer will always lie within the culture. If we gave a controller to if we had a twin study right now, even though twin studies are pretty much fucked, I'm pretty sure, right? If we had a twin study right now, and you gave a controller to a female twin and a male twin, they would grow up to have the same skill level. Okay. Now, I would need a study on that, saying that typically gays have a girly voice. But regardless, if gays typically have a girly voice, so what? Does that mean you should deny a cake to all? Yeah, you're right. Exactly. So now I'm asking you, how does somebody who's gay hide their gayness? This is going right back to the start. You said that somebody has to hide their gayness or act natural, which is what the other guy said, but you bumped it. So how does somebody hide their gayness if anybody can have a girly voice and anybody could act quirky? Okay, so now you've instantly reversed what you just put out. You said that typically gays have a girly voice, but now you've reversed that and said that if you don't want to act gay, don't have a girly voice. So now you've assigned girly voice with gays again, just so you know. You've reversed your position. Your position here, all right, then typically gays have a girly voice. You're not assigning girly voice to gays. Typically, gays have a girly voice. That doesn't mean that all gays have a girly voice, or being gay means you have a girly voice. And right there, you just said if you want to act like a gay, then you would act like that. So what you're saying is, if you want to be gay, you would have a girly voice. So you're saying that all gays have a girly voice, which is not true. And you even agreed to that with your all right, then typically gays have a girly voice. There is no acting gay. There's just, are you gay or not? Do you like men? And are you a man? Then you are gay. I am heterosexual because I like, and that's even on a spectrum, by the way. That's why there's bisexual. Because you can also like men and females. And I can only, I'm very heterosexual. I could never imagine, ever in my entire existence, being with a man. No, I'm saying if you want to act like a gay, you would have to act like how most gays act. So then, now what you're saying is that any gay, that's a bad word, anyone who's gay that doesn't have a girly voice is now not gay. That's what you're saying. Just so you know, this sentence right here says that if you don't, because now you've defined that, now you've put the term that a girly voice is, because typically a girly voice is assigned, because typically gay people have a girly voice, therefore to act gay means you have a girly voice. So now you're saying that anybody who doesn't have a girly voice is not gay. Because you just said, no, I'm saying if you want to act like a gay, by the way, don't say that, like a gay person, you have to act like how most gays act. And now you're saying, so what you're saying literally is that if you don't have a girly voice, you're not gay. Because since most, I don't understand how you don't see this. You literally agree that typically, so let's say that it's true that typically if you don't have a girly voice, it's a hint you're not gay. We're close. So sure. If I was forced to make a guess, well, I wouldn't with the girly voice thing because I don't know the statistics on that. So we'll go back to the sports thing. If somebody told me they like sports and I had no idea who they were, and I had to make a guess of if they were male or female, I would guess that they were male if they like sports, because statistically, they would be. But that doesn't mean there's inherent traits to being heterosexual or gay or whatever. It just means that typically certain things, and that could literally change tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, females may like sports more than guys. That's why there's no specific gender roles. So now I'm wondering, now I'm wondering why. So even if, let's say somebody walks into a cake store and asks for a cake in a girly voice. You made the statement that they have to hide their gayness. And I'm trying to figure out what that means to you. Because if somebody has a girly voice and they're not gay, how are they supposed to like hide they're acting normal to them? They just have a higher pitched voice. So they like, right? If that person who sells the cake doesn't sell cakes to people who have girly voices, then they're also not selling cakes to straight people. Some straight people. So when you said like the statement of they need to hide their gayness to buy a cake, what does that mean? To hide your gayness. Because you've already like dismantled that. My question is, because in the past, so the reason we're on this massive tangent is because you said the words that if somebody wants to buy a cake, they just shouldn't act gay. I'm trying to figure out what you mean by acting gay. No, but you didn't, because you also agree that some men or some heterosexual people also have girly voices. So it's not inherent to gay people that they will have a girly voice. So when a gay person walks into the bakery and asks for a cake and they have a very deep voice, are you saying like, how are they already hiding their gayness? Because like doesn't make any sense. Because then what you're doing is you're assigning a girly voice to being gay. If you're saying that somebody with a deep voice, like, that's what I'm trying to get at. If you unironically think that okay. This is your issue. So I'm assuming that by hide your gayness, you mean when somebody with a higher pitch voice walks into a bakery, they should deepen their voice, which would be hiding their gayness. What I'm trying to bring up is that a deep voice or a high-pitched girly voice is not inherently gay, because a straight person who walks into there and has a girly voice isn't gay, right? So you can't hide your gayness, because anybody, girly voice or not, could be gay. Because we're all just humans. And we have different aspects to each individual person. The most heterosexual person on the face of the earth could have the highest pitch voice on the planet and still not be gay. Okay, if a gay person has a deep voice, he's less likely to be assumed to be gay, just like a woman would be less likely to be into sports. Okay. So again, if you're asking somebody to hide their gayness, you're now assigning a girly voice to being gay. So are you on board with that? Are you assigning a girly voice as being gay? Anybody with a girly voice is inherently being gay. Alright, so here's the problem with that. Well, A, what's the problem with being gay? Alright, so if that's your position, here's why you're wrong. A, there's nothing, if that's true, like, there shouldn't be anything wrong with being gay. So that means that there's no reason that a religious person should be denying these people because of their gayness a cake. Right? So to the religious people, there is something inherently wrong with being gay, which is just nonsense, because there is nothing inherently wrong with being gay. So I need to ask you now that we've assigned a girly voice to being gay for some strange reason. So that means that some straight people could be acting gay naturally. Okay, that's what's wrong with their religion. So then you disagree with people who are denying people cakes? So at least we're on that page, that you think that people denying people for being gay is wrong. But now we need to figure out why you're assigning girly voice with being gay. Because now what you're saying is that a straight person You're literally saying that a straight person with a girly voice is inherently somewhat gay, even if he's the most heterosexual person on the planet. If somebody walks up to me and has a girly voice, I'm not going to automatically assume they're gay. If I was asked to make a guess, like if a gun was held to my head and I had to make a guess, okay, I understand that, but you're assigning specific traits to people when it's not necessary. Right? Yeah, but that's wrong. It's wrong for you to assume somebody's sexuality just based off of their voice. How do you not see that? Somebody could be heavily embarrassed by the tone of their voice, and you're sitting there calling, like, this guy could be super heterosexual, and you're sitting here calling them gay in a derogatory term because they have a low voice. You're also removing, so you're also telling people who have an extremely deep voice that they're not gay. If you just assume somebody's sexuality by talking to them, right? Somebody walks up to you, they're really gay, they have a deep voice. You go, oh, where's your girlfriend at? It's like, oh, well, dude, I'm gay. It's like, oh, fuck, sorry. It's like, or you can come to the standpoint where you don't assume anybody's gender or sexuality, and you just talk to them like a normal human being. Okay, so you just don't give a shit that you're being a dickhead then. Because what if that... Oh my god. I don't understand how you see the problem with this. So somebody might be into sports. Holy fuck. Okay, so... Oh my god, I can't believe you don't see the problem with this. So you're just totally for... Yes, it is being a dickhead. If a woman walks up to you and is... Like, basically what you're saying is that a chick could be fucking wearing a jersey. And you, like, wouldn't talk sports with them because typically they don't like sports. Like, fuck them. They can't possibly like sports. That chick must be wearing that shirt because, cool. Like, I don't understand. Oh my god. Like, I don't understand how you don't think that this is like inherent, like you're being a dickhead. Basically what you're saying, because you have assigned a girly voice to being gay, if somebody walks up to you holding hands with a guy and he has a deep voice, are you automatically going to assume that that guy's not gay because typically somebody with a deep voice isn't gay? Even though he's holding somebody's fucking hand? And also, by that same merit, right? If I see a shirt, then that's... But maybe not, because maybe that chick just wears that shirt because it's her boyfriend's shirt, or she just decided she has no other shirt, and maybe she fucking hates sports. Do you understand, like, the problem with assuming people's shit just by looking at them? Like, where it gets sticky, right? So also, by the way, just so you know, if you're assigning a girly voice to being gay, every single child would be gay under your definition. Because they all have higher pitched voices. 100% you're more right than me. And I mean like right wing, not by correct. Just so you know. It's clear that you're more right wing than I am. Now, if you mean correct, that's totally wrong. Because I'm 100% correct all the time because I don't make assumptions. You would be wrong 10% of the time. And I'll never be wrong because I'm not making assumptions. Like, sure, maybe assuming that a girl isn't into sports is not inherently, like, a bad thing. Because it's just sports. Like, who really gives a shit? But when you're actually, like, dehumanizing somebody by assuming they're not gay or not heterosexual or not homosexual... Because, well, I just said gay, but you know what I'm saying. Because of their voice... That's, like, directly damaging. You're dehumanizing somebody because they aren't gay to you. Like, imagine if you pass legislation or whatever. Like, you're actually a person of power, and you're like, you have a deep voice. You must be straight. It's like, no, actually, I'm gay, dude. It's like, fuck. Sorry. Typically, guys with deeper voices aren't gay. It's like, okay. I stand by my point. Okay, it's fine for you to hold that point that most people with a girly voice are gay. That's a statistical truth in the world. Maybe. I'm not sure because I don't know the stats. But let's say it is. Let's assume that, yes, most gay people, my bad, have a girly voice. You've now assigned to them a million other things. No, but you're trying to assign a trait to somebody. Because I'm asking you, what does it mean to be gay? And you're like, if you have a girly voice. And it's like, because most of them have that. But that's not true. It's like a non sequitur. Those aren't unrelated things. Just because you're the one making the assumption that a gay person has a girly voice. Yes, it's true that most people, let's say it is true, that most people who are gay have a girly voice. That's not inherent to gay people. Yeah, because you're getting it wrong. You're making assumptions of people based on unrelated things. Biologically, somebody won't, like, if somebody has a higher pitched voice than somebody else, that doesn't mean that biologically they will be gay or are more prone to being gay. You are either gay or not gay, and then after that, you will not after that, but you may also have a deep or a high pitched voice. Right? So you are female, and then because of cultural differences, you may or may not like sports. You're a female, and then you may or may not like sports, and because of our culture, most men like sports than females because sports are heavily advertised towards men. But you're like assigning a trait to somebody who, like, it's not applicable. It's a non sequitur. It's unrelated. I'm trying to get the point into your head that having a high pitched voice or a quote unquote girly voice isn't inherent to you being gay. It's not a trait that gay people hold, even though you seem to want to give it to them as a trait. Okay, and if you're not going to say it's a trait, then you shouldn't assume that somebody is a specific thing because of aspects of their personality or whatever. But I'm trying to get you to understand. So you don't want to say it's a trait. Good, we're a step closer. But it appears that you will still assume that somebody's gay because of their voice, which means you're assigning a trait to it. Even if you statistically might be right, it's a bad thing to. It's because of, it's not maybe bad all the time, but it can be damaging in some aspects to just assume somebody's sexuality. It could be dehumanizing to some people, which then could lead to depression. Oh, it's back? Okay, it's back. Sorry, I don't know what the fuck just happened. Sorry about that. What did you... fuck, what did you miss? That was weird. Only my OBS died. Right? So, okay, so I'll just go over... Yeah, so you're assigning specific traits to people, and it's a bad thing to assume, right? Like, I would not assume that the female runner in Africa who has a higher testosterone level than most females, or I think nearly every female on the planet, I won't assume she's a male because of her high testosterone level. No, she's still a female. She just has a higher testosterone level. Because it's an assumption. Now, about that, so about the sports thing, I don't really have a problem. The issue is that you're going to do it to other things, because you've admitted that you would do it to gay people. And then that could be inherently damaging, right? Because you're dehumanizing them at that point. You may not agree with it, that you just assuming somebody's thing is dehumanizing, but it's true, right? You're basically saying that a person with if somebody with a deep voice walks up to you, and you assume that they are a dude or you assume that they are heterosexual, you are dehumanizing them because you are saying to them that you can't be this thing if you have a deep voice. It's not the same thing because a sport, like something sports related, is not like inherent to human beings. You being gay is a biological thing, or your voice is biological. It's something they can't change. Tomorrow a woman could like sports and then like, right? But tomorrow a gay person can't become straight. So that's where the dehumanization part comes in, because it's dehumanizing because if you're talking to somebody who doesn't have a girly voice, you're basically telling them that they're not gay. That's the dehumanizing part. You're assuming that because they don't have a deep voice, they're not gay, which to them is dehumanizing. Right? I consider myself extremely heterosexual. So if somebody walks up to me, I would find it disrespectful if somebody assumed I was gay because of a hat I wore. Like if I wore a pink hat, or if I had a pink shirt, or if I had colorful clothing, I would find it extremely disrespectful if somebody assumed I was gay because of what I was wearing. Or if, for whatever reason, I went through an accident and my vocal cords got fucked up, so now I have extremely girly voice, quote unquote, girly voice. I would find it extremely disrespectful if you came up to me and assumed I was gay because of that. If you can't see that, like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I need more fucking water. If I had a female jacket on, like if I went to the store and I was looking at coats and I saw in the female aisle a coat I really fucking liked, and I bought it, and the fucking cash register chick was like, "Oh, what's up, girl," or whatever, some fucking term for females, I would find that extremely disrespectful because I should be allowed to buy whatever fucking jacket I want or do whatever I want if I like it, and I can still be who I am. A female dress isn't meant for anybody. I'm arguing that anybody can do anything. I can wear a female dress tomorrow and that wouldn't make me less of a guy. I would still be just as male as I am today. Right? So are you telling me that this would be directly against Steven Crowder then? No, it wouldn't. Oh my god. So now you're assigning an inherent female trait to dresses. Okay, wait. So then what about kilts? Is any Scottish person that wears a kilt inherently female? Because that's a skirt. Skirts are made for females, which is just a half a dress. What about kilts? So Steven Crowder, when he did that stupid fucking video about him walking into a abortion clinic dressed as a female, is he now a chick for that video? A kilt isn't a female dress. You're so fucking close. Okay, so now why isn't a kilt considered a female dress? Is it because us as humans have assigned it to that? And if you're going to agree with that, then you have to agree with, then you have to agree that a dress has been assigned to females, but anybody can wear it. Anybody can wear a kilt. Anybody can wear a dress. It doesn't change you as a human being. You're like this close. You're right on the fucking border of agreeing 100% with me, and it's mind-boggling. And why are you telling me and? You're the one assuming that somebody's a female because they buy a dress. But the dress isn't meant for females, the same way a kilt isn't meant for males. You just said a kilt isn't a female dress. So can females not wear kilts? Okay, so can females wear kilts? Like, what are pants? Are pants inherently male or female? Because if kilts aren't female, or if dresses aren't meant for men, then why can men wear them? It's gender neutral. Oh my god. Why is it gender neutral? Why is a dress considered female? Why is Pants, gender neutral. What are male clothes then? Is a t-shirt a male thing? Because women can wear those too. You're so mind-bogglingly close. Because they look better on females, probably. Interesting. Well, what makes something attractive? Is it our culture? That's undeniable, by the way, just so you know. Which means that at any point it can change. Tomorrow, we could find men wearing dresses attractive, which means that dresses aren't inherently made for females. You're so close. You're right there. No, it's my physical penis who decides what's attractive. So you're agreeing that it's super fucking subjective. In other words, it's cultural based. Because what your physical penis says is attractive isn't what my physical penis says is attractive. Because people have different kinks and different sexual attractions. That's like painfully obvious. So to the person who is sexually attracted to a male wearing a female dress, what does that mean? Does that mean that a dress to that person is made for men? No, dresses are made and people wear them. Even if that's true, that doesn't mean female dresses are made for females. Come on, dude. You're right there. This is like correlation and causation basics, dude. Okay, why is a female dress meant for females? And if you're going to say in the word female, well, you're just wrong, because not all dresses are considered female dresses. They're called dresses, and typically females wear them. Jesus, how dumb are you, my dude? So you're the arbiter of what's male and female. You decide. You are the almighty king of male and female. You decide what is men and female based on the erection of your penile. Is that what you're saying right now? No, it doesn't. If that was true, then why, throughout history, our beauty standards have changed drastically? There may be some aspects of human biology that men find more attractive and females find more attractive. But that doesn't cooperate whatsoever with our beauty standards over the past thousands of years, right? The Romans liked bigger, chunkier chicks more than anything else. In the 90s, whatever, skinny chicks were the hots. Right now in the modeling industry, it's currently changing, actually. The modeling industry is currently changing. For the longest time, it was tall, thin chicks that were size 0, 6 feet tall women were the most attractive in the modeling industry. Now, it's moving on to thicker, curvier chicks of any size, pretty much. So your biology decides what's more attractive thing is completely off the charts, right? Because gayness and are also biological traits. So just because your penis likes it doesn't mean all penals like it. What do I gain? I'm factually correct is what I gain. That's what I gain from calling everything culture and made up. I'm factually correct in that. That's what I am. And because of that, we have a massive influence on our society. Yeah, sure. Jesus. And because of these obvious things in society, we have influence over many things, right? Racism isn't like inherent to white people. It's a cultural thing, which means that we can change it. That's what the whole culture thing is, right? It's not like biologically, like, my God, I don't think you understand the actual positive thing coming. Like, oh my God, I don't understand how much of it, like, how you don't understand how positive it is that everything is cultural and made up. It means that we have endless influence over our society. It actually means that we can make our society very, very healthy just based off of a couple cultural switches. Or maybe a lot, depending on how fucked our society is. If things weren't based off of cultural and made up, quote unquote made up, then slavery could still be a thing because it might have just been a biological trait of humans that there must be slave and there must be slave owner. Thankfully, that's not true. It's a culture thing that slavery was a thing. If things were biological, right, then like the 10 Commandments or whatever would be biological to us, which would be very, 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 very bad. No, racism is definitely not biological. Have you ever in your entire existence seen the ads of like, you're not born racist? It's true. Like, you're not born racist, dude. Holy fuck. So you're telling me right now that you were born a racist? There's like piles and piles and piles of evidence directly against that point. Are you actually unironically taking the side of you are biologically born racist? I mean, if you're just gonna play this game, then it depends on a million. If you're gonna define racism as somebody who doesn't like, I mean, I don't know, dude. What am I gonna define racism as? Well, prejustice, oh my God, discrimination and antagonism. I don't know. Antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that someone's own race is superior. That's my definition for racism. If you think that you as a white person are superior to other races. Now, I run under the belief system that there are no races. We are just one race, the human race. But that would be against, like, racism, obviously. I'm getting these fucking notifications. Okay. Yeah, of course you don't, because that would be the stupidest stance you could ever take in your entire existence. So yeah, it turns out that slavery and racism is heavily culture-based. That's why, in today's society, Catholic, like, in the past, um, well, yeah, I mean, in the past, you can look at the Muslim religion. There was the Islamic Golden Age, where they led the world in scientific discovery because of their culture at that time, and then that changed over time because of a plethora of reasons. No. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to take that back right now, dude, because you are unbelievably wrong. If you actually think there are biological differences between races, and like some races are better than and worse in different aspects. Because, again, let me be clear on this. It's not inherent to a specific race. Some traits may be typically more represented in specific races, but that doesn't mean that the race itself is better at these things, right? So typically, African Americans will be more athletic and stronger and run longer. But why is that? Is it because of black people? No, it's because we basically bred them that way because of slavery, right? We took the strongest of the people in Africa to be our slaves, so therefore they were bred into this, that, right? Fuck. Races don't have specific traits assigned to them. Why are you talking about America? Well, I'm pretty sure slavery happened in more countries than just the United States, buddy. Goddamn. It's just that America was the largest perpetrator of fucking slavery, dude. Or at least the most recent. What about African countries? I'm asking you what you mean by if it's biological that races are better and worse in different aspects. I need you to define that right now, because you're so dead fucking wrong that it's unbelievable. No, oh my god. I don't know what you're going on about right now. Please, just define your fucking insane statement that biologically the races are better and worse. That races are better and worse in different aspects. Because you're unbelievably wrong about this fucking race realism statement right now. Of course it is. 100% it's culture and made up. 100%. Well, now, different culture things. It's more culture, not like made up. But, culture. So made up is like a different thing. So we, usually words are made up, right? Like all of our words and like how we define things are made up. Culturally could be, physical aspects are culture based. Like why are more white people fat than any other, or like why are, like, I think Mexicans now, Mexico leads the, like, as the fattest country on the planet. It's not that Mexicans are inherently fatter than other races, just that their culture has made them fucking immensely obese. And I think maybe the United States overpassed them again. I'm not sure who leads the fucking obesity spectrum right now. But you wouldn't say that Americans are predisposed to fatness. But American culture has led to more fat people in the nation. Just don't say you're factually correct. What do you mean don't say I'm factually correct? What the fuck are you talking about right now, dude? You made a race realist statement right now, dude. And yes, like, almost everything is culture based. Well, what's there to understand is what, like, are you saying that inherently a specific race is better than another race at something? Because if you're saying that, that's wrong. What's correct is typically people of said race are stronger, let's say, or weaker than people of another race. But that doesn't mean that their race inherently gives them that strength. Something else gave them that strength. Be it selective breeding, let's say, right? It's like Chihuahuas are weaker than Great Danes. It doesn't mean that Chihuahuas are inherently weaker than Great Danes. We bred Chihuahuas to be weaker than Great Danes. Epigenetics. Well, I'm wondering what you're saying is, like, I need to figure out what your definition of, like, it's biological that races are better and worse in different aspects. I need to, like, you to define what you mean by that. Because if you're going to tell me, because I still don't know what your answer is. If what you're saying is biologically, black people have this. And that's like undeniable from the big, like this is inherent to black people. You'd be wrong because other races can have that trait too. The study of changes in organisms caused by modifications of genes expressed rather than altering of the genetic code itself. Study of changes in organisms caused by modifications of gene expression rather than... So again, that wouldn't be inherent in races. That's just a biological thing that all humans can be. Okay, inherited. You're getting close. You're getting close to the not racist statement. But so how are those genes inherited? Because what I'm trying to get you to not tell me is that all black people inherently, or yeah, because we'll go back to the original race realist meme, right? Inherently, black people are stupider than white people, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's not true. Because of certain reasons, predominantly slavery, black people were not given equal access to education the same as other races were, so therefore they are currently statistically likely to have a lower IQ than other races. That doesn't mean that black people inherently are dumber than white people, because what that means is that all black people are inherently dumber than white people. So the dumbest white person is smarter than the smartest black person, which is not true. So now if you're defining the differences between race as just biological differences that came through different breeding aspects and culture based, then you agree with me. Well, other countries, like African countries where there wasn't slavery. Okay. Let's see if there's any countries that weren't affected by racism. Let's go with direct slavery, because I'm just going to ignore the colonialism problem. Okay, so it seems that most of the Western, yeah, but I don't know how accurate that is, because what if they just brought people from all over the place? Anyways, regardless, so yeah, maybe. So let's go with that, right? So like the other, so let's answer the question of what about the other African countries that weren't affected by slavery? So they weren't directly affected by slavery, but they would have still been affected by colonialism, which is the colony powers, England, France, Germany, Belgium, affecting them and deteriorating their way of life. So yeah, so like there might be small differences between other African nations that weren't directly affected by slavery, but all African nations were affected by colonialism in some form, which would have set them back. The same way right now why the Middle East has reverted to a more conservative viewpoint, because they're being bombed the fuck out of. Ethiopia. I'm pretty sure Ethiopia is a pretty nice country. But again, Ethiopians aren't inherently smarter or dumber than like your average white person. That's what I'm trying to get you to... Because if you're assigning a thing to a race... Ethiopia got attacked by fucking Italy in World War II and, like, essentially annihilated, dude. What? Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, A, you have to figure out what their IQ was at that time, which we'll never figure out. And why... And you have to, like, you would literally have to know every single... It's not like the African countries went through an industrial revolution like the United States did. United States citizens, which were predominantly white people, had far more access, and other Western civilizations had far more access to education than any other African country. This is why there's not inherently, like, IQ problems with different races, right? And what are you arguing about? I'm trying to figure out what you mean by biological. It's biological that races are better and worse in different aspects. Because what that statement sounds like is that you're assigning specific traits to specific races, and like not understanding why that's true. So, for example, right now, it could be true that typically, an African American male will be, your assumption correct. I don't know what you mean there. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of what you're talking about. But if your stance is that inherently, so typically right now, African Americans appear to be, let's just say, faster, stronger, better at sports than your typical white American male in football, let's say. But why? Is an inherent factor of African Americans? No. There's other reasons why they are that way. And if you look at it, it turns out that during times of slavery, we actually chose the strongest and best African Americans to be like the slaves. So therefore, there was some form of selective breeding going into it. Now, with education, because of the colonial powers sitting around in Africa, not giving them the highest forms of education in Africa, that's like African countries typically have lower IQs than other nations because of the lack of educational access that other countries had as well, right? So the UK had better forms of education than the African countries far longer than Africa did. So therefore, they would have better education. Therefore, society in said nation would be better off, let's say. But that isn't inherent with white people. That was just a cultural thing that increased that on average increased the intelligence of people within that country. Because you can switch it if you switched history and the African countries were the colonizers, right? If all the people in Africa were the colonizers, they colonized Europe and stuff like that, then the African Americans would be the smarter ones right now, blah, 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 right? So that means that the traits of IQ and stuff like that aren't inherent to races. So that's what I'm trying to get. If you agree with that, right? If you can agree with if the roles were switched, if the roles were switched tomorrow, right? Like if history got erased and rewritten that that Africa was the major colonizer in the world, so therefore they had better education and whatnot. If you can agree with the statement I just made, then we are like in agreement, and you also agree with me that most things are culture based. I don't follow you. Okay, so you made the statement that it's biological that races are better and worse in different aspects. So when you made that statement, there's two sides of that coin. You're either a racist or you're not. And I'm trying to make sure that you're not a racist. And if you're not a racist, because a lot of other things you have said kind of lean towards the racist side of that statement. So I'm trying to make sure that you are not one with this statement. If you agree to this statement, then me and you are in agreement, okay? The statement is, if tomorrow history was changed and African nations had the same exact, like, imagine everything that happened in the United States and everything that happened in the UK and the Western nations. Imagine if all of that beneficial stuff, like the education, the economic booms and stuff, all that happened, but in Africa, okay? So everything has been switched. The United States would still be a tribal nation filled with like the Cherokee and all that, right? And same with Canada. And the United Kingdom would be something else. I'm not really sure exactly what they would be. But the African nations are the superpower of the world, okay? For all of history. Which means that they're smarter than everything else. Okay, so now would you say... Yeah, but inheritable is like an aspect of culture, right? So you inherit traits from people, but that doesn't mean that this is why I'm saying you're close. So if you say something is inheritable, all people can inherit it, right? Okay. So then we're close to this is what I'm worried about, because you've made a lot of other statements to kind of go into the race realism category. So I'm trying to get you to agree with me on a statement, and I'm pretty sure you're there, right? That, but you're just not in agreement that things are cultural, because you're against me saying that things are cultural. Like, if today African Americans in American sports are stronger than, okay, so cool. Yeah. Okay, so we're in pretty much agreement. So now I'm wondering why you disagree with me on like 99% of the other stuff, like the dress thing and stuff, because that would also be cultural. We culturally, currently our culture is that women wear dresses and men wear t-shirts, but tomorrow that could switch by some divine thing. It could switch. Because it's like culture based. You don't inherent, like, there's no gene that says, "Oh, I like dresses on girls." It's culture based. But also, what's culture, like, you can also inherit stuff because of your culture, right? So when you become, um, what would be one basically? That's not inheritable. It's biological. But okay, so there's biological traits, and all humans have them, but they just manifest in specific areas because of cultural reasons, right? So if we have, so if at one point in human history, people with red hair were considered witches and were burned on a stake, then we would have a lower population of red-haired people, and that was a cultural thing that changed our biology, or helped change our biology, and then we would have like less people with red hair, right? So cultural things can affect what we inherit. So it's not inherent. Yeah. So I'm trying to make sure that you're not assuming. So what I'm getting at is that I'm trying to make sure that you don't confuse. Like, culture affects all things. So, like, you learn racism. That's not a biological trait. You're not born racist. You are taught to be racist. And then that cultural aspect will determine certain biological things and like mold them. So it would be stupid for you to assume that a specific race has a specific trait, because not odds are, those traits that manifest into those specific races were caused by some cultural phenomenon or event. Because all humans share the same genes, they just have grown or evolved in different ways in different places. Because that's like basic evolution. So it would be a dumb statement for you to say that all black people are dumber than white people, because, well, biologically, black people seem to be dumber than white people, like on a typical basis, whatever. Because you're completely ignoring the cultural things that happen because of those things and like changing them. It's not a fact. Typically, a lower IQ might be assigned to some African populations, and the reason for that is because of American and Western colonialism. I don't know how you backtrack and like switch your position so quickly after agreeing with me on so much stuff. That's just not true. It I don't even know how to describe to you how untrue that statement is. If you had a population of quote unquote dumb African Americans, and they were given the highest form of education possible, eventually, and they would only breed within themselves, they would also increase their IQ on average within their society. Because like that's how evolution works. Like we don't know exactly what affects our evolution, but we know that survival of the fittest is a thing. Well, you're right, because IQ is inherently stupid because it's in large part effective based upon like where you live and stuff like that. A lot of IQ tests are American centric, so if you don't know a lot about American society, you'll score low on a IQ test. I did this recently because so I'm Canadian, so I should know a little bit about the imperial system, but I don't know much about like feet, and because I use meters, right? So there's one question about meters, I was fine on that, and then there's a couple other questions using feet and like miles, and I was like, well, fuck feet and miles. And then I was good on some other questions about like inches and whatnot because I use those in my workplace. So yeah, apparently I have a lower IQ because I don't understand the imperial system, or I don't have a great understanding of the imperial system. But that's mostly because I didn't grow up in the United States. But like you're so close yet so fucking detached from like reality. It's pretty mind-boggling. There's a small portion of me that just believes you're like a troll because you like switch your position like 7 times at this point. It's funny that you said that debate about I don't even know if you agreed to my premise, but and Twitch shouldn't be a place to. Well, you're fucking. I mean, genetics to you is fucking crazy. So I mean, I don't know, dog. I have a pretty well understanding of genetics. Fuck. I know how traits and stuff like that are passed on and whatnot. Like, god dang. You seem, because of your statements of that, seem that traits then are somehow inherent with specific people, even though that doesn't make any sense. You also agree with me that like culture affects it as well. So that would mean that it's not inherent to specific races. Thank you, Onion. That's the only way. Watch me, yeah. If you watch me play Hearthstone or League of Legends, your IQ instantly goes up by 200%. Especially when if I make a 200%, if I make a high IQ play in either of those video games, your IQ goes up even more. Well, because you, how is this relevant to the gay case? Because you seem to be attaching traits to specific people for no reason. So the reason we got here is because you attached the trait of a girly voice to gay people. So now if you're confused about my use of the term trait, it's because a girly voice could be a trait, but that trait could be given to anybody. Right? Anybody can have the trait of a girly voice. You're making the statement that only gay people that only gay people have the trait of a girly voice, and if you, a heterosexual person, has the trait of a girly voice, you are then considered gay. Yeah, but oh my god, that means it's not a trait. If there's any aspect of like you don't understand the term of trait clearly. A girly voice would be a trait. Now, and then, typically, I don't even know if this is true, we haven't even brought up a study on this, but let's say that typically, gay people express that trait. I know, but you are constantly going back on it with the mostly thing. And now you're moving on like IQ. It seems like you're moving towards the race realism argument. And I'm looking out for you, dude. Because if you take that stance, I apologize. I have to call you racist. Okay. I mean, all right. Like clearly you don't. I mean, you're totally down for just assuming somebody's sexuality based on how they look or act or talk. So I mean, I totally yeah. It's clear you don't care. But then if you don't care, I don't want to hear any complaining from you ever in your entire existence about people making fun of you. Ever. If you ever got bullied, you didn't get bullied, just so you know. If you think you got bullied based on your own definitions here, you were not bullied. And for the most part, this is actually funny too, because a lot of people who say they don't care, that's usually a defense mechanism for like deeper whatever. I assume people fall in certain labels if they're labels. I know, but it's rough that you don't understand the inherent problems with doing that, right? Because it's a like you can be gay, and that's a biological fact. Like that's you can't if you're gay. No, but so sure, it's not inherently harmful that you assume that a female doesn't like sports. It'd be a little rude. I would consider it rude if I was a female and you're just like, ah, chicks don't like sports. I would probably consider that rude if I was a female. Now, some chicks might not, some chicks might. Who really cares? But it's definitely dehumanizing if you, because being gay is biological. There's nothing you can do about it. If you're gay, you're gay, okay? There's nothing you can do about that. You can do something about liking sports. Tomorrow, I could not like sports anymore. Tomorrow, I could like sports even more, right? You can do something about that. But being gay is inherent to you as a human being. You are born gay. You're not born liking sports, but you're born gay. So therefore, when you call somebody with a deeper voice, and they may be gay, or somebody who is heterosexual with a girlier voice, if you call them gay, that's very dehumanizing to people, right? If somebody walks up to you with a pink shirt and you assume that they're a chick because of that, and they're a guy, that would be extremely disrespectful. And I'm just mind-boggled that you don't see that. Like, what if it turns out that you have a pretty girly voice, quote-unquote? What does that even mean anyways, right? What does a girly voice mean? I just kind of assumed that you meant, like, higher-pitched, which, again, I don't know how that's inherent with girls, again, but whatever. Like, it's just very mind-boggling that you don't see the inherent problem with you just assuming somebody's sexuality based on how they speak. Like, I don't know how to... I don't know. Like, sure, you can hold the position that you might, like, I can agree with you that it's not inherently fucking, like, I would just consider you rude. I don't know how you don't see that that's rude, that you just would assume somebody, like, I don't know. No, there is something wrong with assuming. There might not be something wrong with assuming on certain things, but I'm not even sure if I agree to that. I would assume, like, yeah, if you assumed, I would say that assuming stuff in the first place is pretty much always bad, because it's like, why? Why are you assuming stuff? Like, don't. It's usually, typically, it's like a bad thing to assume stuff. It seems to reflect on toxic behavior to assume many things. But there's a gradient, right? So I would say it's less bad, or it's not as dickhead-ish, if you want to define it that way, to assume somebody likes sports or not based off of their gender. I would consider you a dickhead still, but not as much of a dickhead as if you assumed somebody was gay or heterosexual based on how they spoke. And if you can't see that, like, I don't know, Tom. Okay, I'm gonna run to the fucking washroom really quick because I might actually explode. Please type your messages. Don't leave me. I'll be right back. Morning pajamas too. Fuck off. A long form message. All right, let's go. Sorry about that. Fucking. All right. There's nothing wrong with assuming it in the first place. If someone says that guy probably has a dickhead? Is someone who says that guy probably has a dickhead? Yeah. Yeah. Because that's, you're assuming, like, let's say you look at somebody with long hair and you're like, that dude has a vagina. It's like, what the fuck? No. No, because he probably has a dick, and if he hasn't, it's not dehumanizing, it's just less probable. If you think it's dehumanizing to say you probably have a dick when you actually don't have a dick because you were born with no dick, then it's your problem because people can't just guess from their own. What? I'm sorry. If you think it's dehumanizing to say you probably have a dick, then you actually don't have a dick. When you don't actually have a dick because you were born with no dick, then it's your problem because people can't just guess from their own and have to deal with the fact that you are in the minority. Or you can just use gender neutral terms and not say you have a dick. How is that not obvious? How about you just don't say you've got a dick, buddy? You might have a dick. You probably have a dick. Just don't say that. It's clear that, like, what do you mean it's their problem for, like, not dressing as a dude? How about you let people dress however the fuck you want and you don't just go around walking around calling people, like, saying you have dicks? Because you just said, oh my god, if you think it's dehumanizing to say you probably have a dick when you actually don't have a dick because you were born without a dick, then it's your problem because people can't just guess from their own and have to deal with the fact that you're in the minority. Or you could just not use the words you probably have a dick and just not bring it up. Like, or you could just not say that. Oh, bingo, just go back in the VOD. I can't explain this right now, dog. We're talking about a million fucking things. Ask your question in like 3 seconds. Please stand by. Why? Because there's a 10% of the population that I would like to keep happy. What do you mean, why? Because 10% of the time I might be wrong. Instead, I will never be wrong. Then let's not talk about anything. You're fucking so detached from reality. It's unfucking believable, dude. Yeah, I guess. I can't believe how moronic that statement is. So let's just not talk about anything. Yeah, or you could just use a gender neutral pronoun and then you avoid ever being right or wrong. You just, like, if I go, hello, what's up? Instead of, hey dude, what's up? Or hey guy, what's up? Or hey chick, what's up? Or hey lady, what's up? Dog, any normal person should act this way. That's why I don't like labels, because any normal person should act this way. It's clear that there's some fucking moronic assholes that exist in this world that have no idea what the fuck's going on. I don't have to change the way I speak. You're just not acting like a guy. It's obvious, dude. I'm 90% correct, so therefore, you're dumb. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Holy shit. So just because you're 90% correct means that, like, oh my god. What do you mean cringe? You're the cringy one, dude. You literally just said that we shouldn't talk about anything because you might be 10% wrong. I don't know where you got that fucking idea from. But it hurts my head. You have a decision to make. You can either assume somebody's gender or sexuality and be 90% right, or you could just not be wrong and be 10% wrong, or you could choose to just not be incorrect and call everybody gender neutral pronoun. Like, it's fucking easy. No bingo. Yeah, I'm clearly an atheist. Obvious. I fucking seethe at the idea of a religion. It hurts my brain. Religion. God damn. Dog, how are you like this detached? I don't understand. Like, why? Okay. So why do people have to conform to you? How dare I associate? Fucking. Fuck off, Captain. Yeah, no, there's no fuck. Well, okay. So I'm agnostic atheist. So if one day there's a sufficient evidence of a god, then I would believe in him. But currently there is not sufficient evidence that there is a god, so I do not believe in him. I mean, I don't really like that's again, this is why I don't really like to call myself an atheist, because at any point in time, if Jesus Christ like walks through my fucking door, obviously I'm going to believe in him. I'm not going to assume what your religious beliefs are because I don't really care. I care about who you are as a human being. And right now, you seem like a fucking dickhead, so I could ask you, hey, what are your religious beliefs? How can I describe them? With this fucking book, asshole. I believe in this book. I've got faith in this book. Alright, bingo. Fucking get in the Discord then. I literally asked you, fucking queer. No, but I don't want to assume what your religious beliefs are. So how about I ask you what your religious beliefs are? Oh my god. But I don't want to. I don't want to assume what they are. So how about I just ask you what they are? What are your religious beliefs? Fuck me. I would prefer not to assume what your religious beliefs are, so why not I just ask you what they are? Same way that I won't assume what your gender is or what your sexuality is, I might just ask you. Fuck. God damn. Just exclamation point Discord. You can join it that way, and then there's a link down below too. What do you think I believe? This is so dumb. If you're upset at that, you're just an idiot. I'm Catholic and atheist, so I guess like Catholic by. If I was to make an assumption, like, are you saying that you're Catholic by culture or whatever? What is David Pakman saying? He's ethically Jewish, although what do you mean? Yeah, it is, I guess. Fuck off. No, I'm just atheist. Don't listen to me. Okay, don't worry. No worries. Some people might say that they're ethnically this or whatever, so I don't know. Hold on. Sorry, Bingo. Let me just fuck. Are you in my Discord? I don't know, dude. If you join the general Bingo, then I'll join in a second. Just give me a second. Well, I'm gonna assume stuff about you now because you're clearly a dumbass. It's obvious. Okay. You're right. Typically, I don't like to assume people's stuff, but clearly you're an idiot, so I don't care anymore. You're right. I am being rude. I am totally down to admit that. I don't give a fuck. You are the one who doesn't want to admit to being like a dickhead, right? You've repeatedly denied me calling you a dickhead. And you completely deny the clear benefit to being gender neutral or unassuming of people's of aspects in life. Yeah, tell us. Fuck. I never called you anything other than the queer. Okay. I mean, you're clearly using queer in a derogatory term, but I don't care. You don't want to make. Yeah, but okay. If you don't want to make me feel upset, then please get educated on how like the world works. Dog, Bingo, tune in like a long time ago. It was happening before, but this guy's like gone off the deep end and undeniably triggered me. Oh my god, I like actually clicked on everything. Oh my god! Like your detachment from like reality is mind-boggling to me. No hate, please. Trying. I mean, yeah. But welcome, Captain, to my Discord. I need to like flush it out. I literally have like a general chat and like nothing else. But whatever. Oh my. No, people don't need. Why do. Okay, let me ask you this. Why do people need religion? What does religion do that non religion can't do? Because if you agree that things are cultural, then, you know. Yeah, I mean, Wizard, I pretty much agree with you on that one. But that's why I'm trying to reduce as much offense as possible, I guess would be a good term. But yeah, like if you're having a general discussion, you're inevitably going to offend somebody. Okay. Alright. I don't know where the joke was, but. Now, if it came from like Captain Wizardson or Bingo, maybe I'd like, you know, laugh because they haven't been completely detached from reality for the past. Okay. Thoughts on Pro Jared? He fucked up. Pro Jared fucked up is my position on that, and then the position that so people should not pretend. Okay, Pro Jared made big oopsie. Yeah. um. Okay, this is a weird one, Bingo. If you don't think anyone needs religion, but people need to stop pretending there's no God. That seems very contradictory to me. I'm not trying to hate. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of what. It's to me that's very contradictory, right? Because religion is inherent to believing in a God. So if I'm not allowed to pretend there is no God, then that means I would be part of a religious group. I would be somewhat religious, not a religious group, but I would be somewhat inherently religious if I was pretending there is no God. I mean, I can also ask you to show me evidence, substantial evidence of a God. And like, why are you not pretending there is no God or whatever you're trying to say here, right? But yeah, Pro Jared made big oopsie. Big poo poo viper. Okay, but there's an inherent problem with what Bingo said. I can agree with the first part, which is that not everyone needs religion. The issue is that the second part is that people need to not pretend that there is no God. That's very contradictory to me. God is a single-celled organism at the center of the universe, and the queefs. He queefs. Okay, I agree with that. Actually, no, I don't know what he means. Okay. Yeah, there's a very contradictory statement there, Bingo. I'm sorry to break it to you. Because you need to show me, if I were to stop pretending there is no God or whatever you're saying, I would need to be shown substantial evidence of one God, and then we can have a discussion on that, but I'm not sure if you want to get into that or not. If you want to get into it at a later date, please go find Matt Dillahunty on the Atheist Experience. God particles? Explain that. You mean the Higgs boson? Fuck. The Higgs boson isn't the God particle. Right, is that how? Now the question is, how do I divide this up for YouTube videos? Do I divide up the Steven Crowder video and then our discussion, my discussion with Ida Coop here, or what? But religion has a but what do you mean by better influence? Do you mean it's more effective at influencing people? Then I would agree with you. But what is that influence? Is it positive or negative? I would say that religion has a very negative aspect to it, whereas atheism doesn't, because it's neutral, right? Okay, so I will explain my answer, but I will be typing for a long time, so be here 10 minutes. If you want, Bingo, by the way, if you're not nervous about it, you can join my Discord and we can have a conversation about this, just so you know. Although, oh no, you said you didn't want to download the app, so okay, no problem, I'll wait. Problem with wanting evidence of God is you would need to have a definition of God and then look for evidence for it. No. Well, yeah, but so the definition of a God would be then put on the religious people who have defined him in their books. So now we're looking for that, right? And which seems to be impossible. So if there is a form of God, like if you want to believe that God is just what started the Big Bang Theory and he had no other influence on society, then I mean, okay, like I can't really disagree with that. But you're literally in the same box as I am, right? I just choose to say that there is no God. It was just something scientific that happened. Whereas you're just there like, oh, whatever thing happened, like the two atoms that collided or whatever started the Big Bang Theory, whatever, like whenever we discover what started the Big Bang Theory, if you just assign that as God, well, I can't disagree with you, but it's just weird that you would assign that as God. Well, I just had the Discord open so that anybody at any point can join it and have a conversation with me, like voice chat wise, instead of typing out everything. That's the purpose of the Discord, is to just have a conversation with someone if they want to, face to face, I guess, or voice to voice. So yeah, like the problem is that, so if it's like the definition of God in the Bible, let's say New or Old Testament, is not like there's no evidence for that God in existence anywhere. Same thing with the God in the Quran or the what are they called? pagan gods, right? The Greek gods and stuff like that. There's no evidence for those people in existence whatsoever. So a positive moral influence. Now, I would have to sadly disagree with you, Itacoup, because there's a lot of negative aspects to religion. And that's why religion is like, that's why I would say that religion, okay, well, hold on. Yeah, I would say that religion, or like the Bible itself, or religion itself, isn't inherently evil, just that what people do with it trends towards that, right? Yeah, sure, of course. I'll watch that on stream. Don't worry about it. I will. Yeah, God's self-definition in the Bible is "I am that I am," which, I mean, how are you supposed to? That's like unfalsifiable, right? I'm just here, guys. Trust me. Even though who wrote the Bible? Blah blah blah. I'm glad we can be in agreement that it's not Jordan Peterson. Thank fuck for that. But a positive moral influence, like, religion itself is morally neutral. It's just what do people do with said things, right? Because, like, I would not consider any teachings about slavery that are present in the Bible as morally positive. if a church was going around preaching that stuff, I would consider those people morally wrong. Yeah, no, of course, yeah. But the problem is, like, how are you ever gonna find God if he's unfindable, right? Can't find him. How are you supposed to find him? How will you ever give me proof? And then, like, that's where the faith falls back on, right? Like, oh, well, you just have to have faith. It's like, well, I'm choosing not to have faith. I'd rather have evidence for someone's existence instead of for me blindly accepting something. Like, I usually, everything I look at is from a neutral standpoint, and then things get added onto it, right? So that's why I wouldn't say the start of the Big Bang Theory is God, because I could just say it's the start of the Big Bang Theory. A God may have started it, but now you'll need to show me evidence of said God starting it. Like, the sky, like, basically the sky isn't blue until we called it blue, right? Does that make sense? Well, yeah, of course. But if there's no beginning or ending to God and he's unmeasurable, then what's the difference between God and nothing? If you're looking for evidence, you're searching for the wrong thing. Well, I'm not searching for evidence. I'm asking for evidence. If you think a God exists, then I need evidence for it. Okay, but if God is essentially infinite and is like, but then what's the difference? Like, then I need to define you need to define what God is, and then show me where he manifests or how he exists. If he's infinite, like if you're just going to define God as the universe, then okay, but that doesn't mean anything. Define means limit. Okay, so then if God is limitless and undefinable, then he also doesn't exist. Yeah, and I don't want to give faith to something that doesn't exist, right? Make finite. Okay. No, but it's not. If something's unmeasurable, uninfluential, and infinite, let's say, then he doesn't exist. That's like the definition of something that doesn't exist, right? Like, darkness is infinite, but darkness is just the lack of light. It's non-existence. Like, yeah, non-existence is infinite. Like, okay. It's also just non-existence. Well, it is. If something doesn't influence anything, so if there's if you say there's a planet, or if you say there's a water bottle next to me, or a puddle of water right on this table right now, but it's doesn't make anything wet, you can't feel it, can't smell it, doesn't affect anything, it's not going to break your electronics, then it's not there. Okay, but if God if God influences something, you have to tell me what he influences. And there's And then if God doesn't influence something, then you can define God as something, right? Let's say God moves a chair once a day randomly in the world. Then your definition for God would be a celestial being that moves chairs once a day. So God is the is. I have no idea what that means. So are you saying like the Big Bang Theory is, and you just put God in there because that's God of the gaps? Okay, I'm just saying if a god did move a chair, then you would define the god as a chair moving god, or like the god is like, let's say the god that you're defining or the god that you think exists is a god that moves a chair every day randomly in the world. Then that god would be defined as a celestial being or whatever you want to call it that moves a chair every day. If you want to define God as something that would be a chair, like God is the chair, then that's the definition, is that God is the chair or God is this. But if you're defining God as everything, like if God is everything, then God is also nothing because he's everything. Exactly. Like, is the movement created by God? If the chair gets moved by somebody, like what, like, so the guy, if it turns out, so if every day a chair moves 1 meter randomly across the earth, it turns out that after some investigation, it's just a guy moving a chair around. Is he God now, or is he just a guy moving a chair around? And like, yeah, if you're gonna define God as everything and everyone, then he's also nothing. You can't find water in the ocean. Well, no, because you would find water everywhere in the ocean. If the ocean was everywhere, yeah, but if the ocean was everywhere, then there would be nothing to point to because it's everywhere, right? So there is nothingness everywhere. We don't point to the nothingness as God or whatever. It's just nothingness. So that's what I'm getting at, is everything is neutral, right? There is no God. You have to put a God into the universe. So if you want to define God as all things in the universe, well, then I could easily just say that, okay, well, he's also not things, because I don't need to assign God to everything. If something is everything, have you seen, if you've seen Bravest Warriors, there's an episode where this little fucking pink dude constantly expands. No, I wouldn't have to deny the existence of the universe. I could just, because what's stopping me, if God is everything, what's stopping me from calling the universe peanuts? Peanuts instead of God. Peanuts. Or George instead of God. George. The universe is George, right? If God is the universe, then I can just assign any title to the universe. Or I could give him no title. And there's no evidence that it's specifically God and specifically peanut. Okay, then what is the concept of God? But yeah, basically that Flurp guy, whatever the hell his name was, that constantly expands, and then he becomes the whole universe. The joke is that he no longer exists, because if you're the entire universe and nothing changes, well, then you basically never existed, or you have no effect on the universe, because you are the universe. So there's no point in like calling it this. So God is okay. So then George's existence. Stephen is existence. Mary Poppins is existence. Okay, but why is anything in existence part of God? Why isn't anything in existence just not part of anything? It's just existence. Where did what's his name go? Where'd Bingo go? That's not true. Because the universe isn't part of anything. The universe is part of itself. we exist inside the universe. So now if you're just defining, again, if you're just defining the universe as God, then by all means go with that, but it doesn't mean anything. There's no meaning to it. We don't get a morality from the universe. We don't have, like, the Ten Commandments didn't just come from the universe, right? Then that means you would have to agree that, like, humans wrote the Bible would be completely useless if you're just going to define God as the universe. That's what I'm getting at. Like, if you're just gonna, you can just switch it, right? You just switch the name. Allah is the universe. It implies the nature of the universe. Okay, but the universe, no. You could just change it. That's the problem, right? So if you're gonna say that the Bible describes God and God is the universe, then, like, what effect does he have on it? Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm getting at. That's why I'm from a neutral standpoint, that there is no God, because then, like, okay, but if that's true, then there's literally no meaning to being religious, because God is nothing, but he's everything. Because he has no effect on the planet. He didn't give us the Ten Commandments. If he's just the universe, right? And if he did give us the Ten Commandments, then you have to show me evidence of the God giving us the Ten Commandments. If you just, if your explanation for that is, well, humans existed, we went through evolution, then we came up with the Ten Commandments, and then blah, 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 then you're just on my position, and you're literally just an atheist that says that things is God. Okay, but then what effects does he have? What direct effects does he have on the planet? Because the Bible says he directly influenced a bunch of stuff, right? He created the world in 7 days, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you're just going to nitpick and take out all that stuff, then you're in the same boat as a bunch of other religious people, right? That just nitpick and choose whatever they want, which is impossible to argue because it's unfalsifiable, right? So right now you're coming from an unfalsifiable statement. Of course, I can't say that God isn't the universe, because if you just choose to define the universe as God, then, well... Okay, but how do you know that it comes from God? How do you know that everything comes from God? What is your evidence for that? All right, thanks, Bingo. Is this what I think it is? It's the fact that anything it is. Okay, so then the Bible and any other religious texts are completely detached from your definition of God. Because your definition of God is just anything that's in existence. Because the Bible and other texts specifically describe a specific God, and that's the ones I don't believe in. And there's no point in me believing in your God, because I could just switch the word at any time and switch the name and do whatever. I'm not saying that this is a RE or this is a right. I'm not saying that this is a... Okay, I'm just wondering what it is. I'm just wondering if I remember what this is. Oh, yeah, I remember what this is. Okay, we'll go through it. This will take extra time, but we'll go through it. It's a very funny video. No problem. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've watched the video, but I'll be happy to go through it again. Yeah. Exactly. And if you're choosing not to do that, then I have equal choice to just not assign God to that, right? Do you get it? If you want to define God as everything, then I have every right to define God as nothing. If you want to move further with that, saying that God directly affects you in this way, then you have to show me how he affects me in this way. Or, like, this is like the whole thing, right? Like, if you just want to define God as, yeah, the existence of the universe, then by all means go for that. It's just kind of weird that you would do that, right? Because God has a million different meanings to a million different people. I would just sit from the neutral standpoint that, like, existence is existence, I guess, or, like, this is the universe. Because God has an inherent meaning to many, many people. It's faith, not yeah, exactly. But I don't work on faith. I work on evidence. It is directly the same statement. You've decided to place the word God on everything. I'm deciding to put the word nothing on everything, or no word on everything. Things just exist. You've decided to say that all things exist and all things are God. I'm just saying that things exist, essentially. Or I could put the name George on everything. Or Tim. Like, why do you choose God? What? Right? I don't have faith in believing. Oh my god. Okay. Coop, I don't want to get into another massive discussion about you, but no. Just no. I don't have faith in believing God doesn't exist. I come from a neutral standpoint, and you have to show me how God exists. I don't need to have faith that nothing exists. Because, like, right? I don't. Yeah, without going into long form discussion, that's like the best description I can give. The overwhelming accepted standpoint of the earth is that nothing exists and nothing has meaning until we give it meaning. So if a God exists, you have to be able to point him out to me. Well, yes, but that's why I say I'm an agnostic atheist. I don't know if he exists. That doesn't mean he does exist. I don't know he exists. It's your job as the person making the claim to show me that he does exist. I'm sitting on the neutral standpoint of I don't know, and the neutral standpoint of like, and I don't know also includes like there is nothing, and you have to show me that stuff exists. Because like everything's relative. If I was to, if for some reason, DP, do you know if I exist? Just asking. I don't. You could be I don't know you exist, right? You could be a very highly sophisticated AI robot. I don't know your gender or sex. I don't know who you are as a person. All I know is the text in front of my eyes and that your name on this platform is Bingo092. No, okay. Let's imagine this. I'm in a room with no gravity and my eyes are closed. Are there walls in that room? Fuck off, Captain. Right? If I get put in a room, or if I get put in a space with no senses, right? How am I? Yeah. How do I know if there's walls in a room or not? I have to be shown that there's walls in the room. I have to be able to feel them or see them, right? If I have a blindfold on in this room and if I was put into a space with no gravity or no I couldn't feel anything or notice anything in the room, to me there'd be nothing in the room until I was shown there's something in the room. By either A, touching the walls, or B, maybe I smell the piss on the floor. Those things have been shown to me. So, to me, there is no God because I haven't been shown there is a God. To you, maybe there is a God. So I would ask you, what was shown to you that makes you believe that there's a God in existence? Sorry, Bingo. This is taking a little bit longer than I thought. Because my boy Brento's here. Sure. But again, I don't know. Cap, time to stop, Captain. I know you're a fucking troll. I mean, you need to. I'm not even answering your stupid questions. Fuck off. You need to show me. Let's go. Someone bumps your answer. But I don't know. Part of accepting evidence is willingness to accept it. You're right. There is cognitive bias to certain things, but I hopefully, to my best of my ability, don't have a bias towards not believing in God. In God. Well, you can convince climate deniers as long as they don't have a cognitive bias against it, or they don't have any other influences influencing their decision, right? So a climate denier might stay a climate denier if he's paid millions of dollars for holding that position. So I try to remove blood for kids. Yeah, fuck me. So I try to remove any influences on my decision making for God. So I try to my best of my ability, ignore all of the bad things that religion has gone for us and take that away from my decision making on if there's a God or not. So I leave it up to what can people show me as evidence, right? What is, like, who is this man? Why isn't he showing himself to me? Stuff like that. Sorry, Bingo. I want to. I just, I'm also having a conversation with a bunch of other people, right? I will as soon as I can. But you were asking others. I'm asking others what? Yeah, but if something is undefinable, then it doesn't exist. If you can't even define it yourself, then what? Like, why does it exist, right? If you can't show me it exists, it doesn't exist. Yeah, that's obviously true in like the words you just wrote. Of course, of course, there's a lot of effort put into making the Bible. That doesn't mean that a God exists because of it. It just means that people wrote a very nice book. That's cool. I'm glad people are capable of writing a very powerful book that influenced many people. The good or the bad, somebody came up with that fucking book and influenced millions upon billions of people. That's amazing. Something can exist and be infinite. Okay, yeah, but if something's infinite, it's definable. We can define the universe as infinite, and it is infinitely expanding, and we can still define it because there's things inside of that. But if something is undefinable, right? Like now you're defining God as infinite. Right now, you've given God a definition. If you want to just describe God as infinite, then okay. But again, I can just change the name of infinite to something else. So even if Jesus existed, there's no proof of him having like almighty powers or him coming from God. There's no proof that he was actually born from a virgin and all this other stuff. So yes, even if Jesus of Nazareth actually existed in the real world, there's no evidence of his godly abilities or whatever else, or that he even came from like a virgin birth. Yeah. Ever heard of dark matter? Yeah. I mean, okay. No. Now you're just breaking up English language, dude. Because that means you can't define the universe, even though we define it as an infinite plane. No, but we don't. Okay, but there's no verification of those eyewitnesses. People can lie. That's obvious, right? You don't just believe. Like, there needs to be multiple eyewitnesses and a million other things. You don't just believe people by their word. A lot of these things, even though I'm not 100% sure what they are, I'm pretty sure don't give direct evidence to a God, right? Or a God that's defined in the Bible. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they could have. That's the problem, idiot. Fucking if you ask like 10 people across the street, like who's evil to them, then you don't just make your laws based off of like fucking asking like 20 people. To define as infinite is to use words to simply say we recognize no limit. Yeah. No. Yeah, but that's like. Why this is you thought process. What? Sorry. Bingo. Why do you think Christianity spreads that much in the first place? Because there was evidence. No. Because it was convincing. And people like to it seems that people like to have an answer. Even if the answer is wrong, they want an answer. No, that's you can't even know that, and that's not true, right? You're literally saying, okay, so the only reason, fuck. So then why was Hitler so influential to millions of people? There was no evidence of that stuff. What, like, well, Jews take heavily from the first, like, what's the evidence for the, but people are still Jewish. What? Wait. What the fuck? Sure, there are, like, almost no pagans, but there are still Jews. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. We define the universe as infinite. We are acknowledging that we don't know its limits, so it's defined as as undefinable. Yeah, but we still know it exists because we're in it and we can see it and we can like we know that the universe is expanding. So the universe is not expanding until we discover it is, right? So something exists that we can't define. I know, but that's why agnosticism exists, right? So if you want to show me evidence at any point that this undefinable person exists, go for it. Do it. Do it right now. And if you can't do that, then I don't believe he exists. Okay, but that I need a coop. I'm gonna watch this video now. I can't even get into another discussion about this with you. I'm gonna finish up with Brento and then I'm gonna concede to Bingo. Okay. Well, yeah, because it doesn't until like because we okay. We've defined the universe as something that is infinite and like we know it exists because we're in it. Yeah, sure, no problem, Brento. Yeah, the evidence for the Big Bang Theory is not complete, but we have substantial evidence for it. So, was it Kepler? I think looked up at the universe and saw that celestial bodies that would be moving together. I think this is red phasing, red shifting. Anyways, basically, bodies in the universe were moving apart from each other, but they didn't have a velocity moving apart from each other. So basically, if I grab a piece of paper, let's fold it up like this, and if I have a piece of paper, and I put two objects on said paper, they have velocity on, so they will have velocity. No, there's real. I'm fuck off, Coop. So if you have two, it's better. It's a better. If I had a balloon, it would be better described that way. But if I actually, we can do this. Where's my Sharpie? Oh, I got this thing. So if we put two dots on this, actually I'll fold it the other way so it's more visible. Fuck. Yeah, Coop, you're just so dumb. I'm sorry to break it to you, buddy. You're just an idiot. So I'm gonna have a discussion with a real person. Like, thanks, Bingo. Fucking goddamn. Like, I get it. You're triggered, buddy. I don't care. Fuck, I'm really screwing this up. Hold on. Centered on a single point before Big Bang, even if we can prove the universe is expanding. Oh, of course, but that's why we've reduced it down to a Planck length, because that's the smallest we could ever. It's infinitely smaller, and at some point it expanded into what we know now, and is continuing to expand. We don't know if that expansion will then contract back into itself, or if the universe will just die off in an ever expanding thing. A Planck length is just the smallest measurement we've ever came up with. So that's how the Big Bang Theory is a thing. I understand this is really confusing because it's science, right? None of us are science majors, but a Planck length is essentially the smallest measurement we could ever conceive of in our brains so far. We're constantly making that smaller. I'm I'll not call you an idiot for not pointing that out. Don't worry. All right. So yeah, Planck length is just like the smallest length we've gone to. So the universe could have conceivably been infinitely small because everything is relative, right? If I'm in a like, the only reason we know that this the only reason we know that I know that this is a specific length, like you can't tell how big this is, right? You have no idea. But I can, because of my hand, I can kind of judge, because I know that the way we've defined it, my hand is about 4 inches wide, and I put the box on here, it's a little bit less than that. So maybe this is a 3-inch box. The only way I knew that is because I put it in contrast with my hand, and my hand was in contrast with a ruler at some point, and I memorized the measurements we defined. So a Planck length is just as far back as we can go, and it could be in like the universe right now. If we were to be outside of the universe, could be infinitely small or infinitely large, because it's relative. There's nothing to compare it to for size. Anyways, back to my original thing about the expanding universe. So you have these 2 dots. Hopefully this is in. You have these 2 dots, okay? And these 2 dots have no velocity currently. None. They're not moving. Like, this isn't moving in any direction. And this isn't, like, they're totally stationary. But, for whatever reason, without gaining any velocity, they moved apart. And after however many years Kepler was staring off into space, they were significantly farther away from each other, but didn't show any evidence of velocity. Because he would compare them to other stars and they would not move. Everything just kind of moved away from each other. It was very strange. And with that basic definition, basically, that's just the evidence for the ever-expanding universe, is that things with no velocity are moving away from each other. It's better on a balloon. If you blow up a balloon like halfway and put 2 dots on it and then continue to blow it up, you'll see that they move away. But they didn't gain velocity. Those dots didn't physically move. They didn't gain velocity. They just expanded away from each other. That's basically how like the universe is ever expanding. And because of its ever expansion, because we know that it's expanding, you can just go backwards. And when you go backwards, we know that it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and then it goes all the way back into a Planck length, because that's the smallest length we've defined so far. Like, right, the universe we currently live to, if there was let's say there was a giant. I know some idiot's gonna say, you mean God? So there's a giant staring down on our universe. The universe could be the size of my phone. It could be the size of this box. It could be the size of a dinner plate. It could be it could be the size of a small pebble. We don't know because we haven't seen the entire, like, everything is in contrast with other things. Anyways, sorry Bingo for the wait of 1,000 years. But I'll watch your video now. Let me just this is by what's his name, that Australian guy, right? Yeah, sorry about that, Bingo. My bad, dude. It turns out I'm dealing with people. I think they're all gone. Maybe Captain Wizard's still here. Yeah, seems that Coop guy finally left. I mean, I liked having the discussion with him, but he was so far detached from reality, it was impossible to talk to him.